Welcome to AI Otaku Studio. Like, subscribe, and enjoy this video. Chapter 51, Crimson Blood Dragon. The encounter with the group from Spirit Hall was merely a minor interlude. After the two parties parted ways, Yu Yuanjun continued to take Yu Xiaogang wandering around the Stardew Great Forest. After searching for another 10+ days, they still had nothing to show for it. This aimless searching made Yu Xiaogang feel fortunate that they had stored dry rations in their storage soul tool long before entering the forest. Otherwise, given the situation, they would either have to leave the Stardew Great Forest to replenish their food, or they would really have to do as Bibaidong had said before and consume raw meat and blood. However, such days did not last very long. Just on this day, when Yu Yuanjun and Yu Xiaogang were eating dry rations in a huge tree hole, hastily making do with a meal, suddenly, roar, garao, two huge beast roars came one after another, and in an instant, Yu Xiaogang's body tensed up. Yu Yuanjun, who was beside him, heard this sound, and his eyes lit up. This roar, is it the roar of a crimson blood dragon? This is one of the spirit beasts that best fits your requirements, Xiaogang, but I don't know how many years old it is. As soon as he finished speaking, Yu Yuanjun directly picked up Yu Xiaogang and rushed toward the direction where the sound came from. Yu Xiaogang, being carried, had a calm expression. Ever since entering the Stardew Great Forest, he had experienced such things too many times. So now, even while being carried, he could calmly finish chewing the dry rations in his hand. Under Yu Yuanjun's rapid travel, it didn't take long before a dragon-type spirit beast with blood-red wings, covered in crimson gold scales, and a horn on its head that looked like green jade came into view. This spirit beast, named Crimson Blood Dragon, was about 5 meters tall, and its spread blood-red wings looked as if they could blot out the sky and sun. It was just that at this moment, the Crimson Blood Dragon was bleeding profusely all over, and its pair of blood-red wings had also become tattered. The moment he saw this spirit beast, Yu Xiaogang's eyes lit up. Father, a single horn, it's still less than 1,000 years old, and this size is definitely well over 500 years. Yu Yuanjun's face also showed joy. After wandering around the Stardew Great Forest for so many days, this Crimson Blood Dragon was the most suitable one. And at this moment, the Crimson Blood Dragon was fighting with a fierce tiger with grey and white fur. The tiger spirit beast was named Bloodthirsty White Tiger, and among tiger-type spirit beasts, it could be considered very powerful. As a tiger-type spirit beast, it was inherently powerful, and with the Bloodthirsty White Tiger possessing the bloodthirsty trait, the more frantic and intense the battle, the stronger it became. Therefore, not many spirit masters wanted to encounter a spirit beast like the Bloodthirsty White Tiger when they didn't need to. Through Yu Xiaogang's observation, the age of the Bloodthirsty White Tiger before them was judged to be around 5,000 years. To be able to fight a 5,000-year-old Bloodthirsty White Tiger, this Crimson Blood Dragon is truly powerful. Yu Xiaogang exclaimed. For a spirit beast to want to fight a 5,000-year spirit beast with less than 1,000 years of strength, the difficulty far exceeded a spirit master fighting against a higher-level opponent. This brings us to the bloodline between spirit beasts. With a powerful bloodline, a 100-year one can fight a 1,000-year one, and a 1,000-year one can be comparable to a 10,000-year one. Therefore, spirit beasts with such powerful bloodlines are generally very likely to allow spirit masters to obtain powerful spirit abilities. Yu Yuanjun said while observing the situation on the battlefield. Just as Yu Yuanjun and Yu Xiaogang finished talking and were preparing to make a move to end the battle, suddenly, another roar came from the distance. Roar! The moment he heard the sound, Yu Xiaogang turned his gaze and saw another Crimson Blood Dragon. Unlike the Crimson Blood Dragon fighting the Bloodthirsty White Tiger, this newly arrived Crimson Blood Dragon was completely unharmed, and its aura was even stronger. Of course, more importantly, on top of this Crimson Blood Dragon's head, next to the same green jade horn as the previous Crimson Blood Dragon, a small, newly emerged horn stood upright. For a spirit beast like the Crimson Blood Dragon, its age is judged through the horns on its head. No horns means it is under 100 years old, while a single horn indicates the 100-year level. When the second horn grows, it means the Crimson Blood Dragon has already become a 1,000-year spirit beast. The appearance of a third horn means it has already become a 10,000-year soul beast. From this, it can be judged that the newly arrived crimson blood dragon before them is a 1,000-year spirit beast, and from its horns, it can be judged that it has just reached 1,000 years not long ago. It just reached 1,000 years, which is a bit of a pity. If it were less than 1,000 years, then this crimson blood dragon would be the most suitable for you. Yu Yuanzhen sighed with emotion. However, what Yu Yuanzhen did not notice was that Yu Xiaogang, who was beside him, was staring blankly at the crimson blood dragon that had just reached 1,000 years. The 1,000-year crimson blood dragon joined the battle, fighting side by side with the seriously injured crimson blood dragon. Under the pincer attack of the two crimson blood dragons, the bloodthirsty white tiger fell into a slight disadvantage. If it were an ordinary spirit beast, it would definitely choose to retreat at this time. But the bloodthirsty white tiger was different. The more intense the situation, the stronger its battle intent became. Garao. Consequently, with a tiger roar, the bloodthirsty white tiger attacked the two crimson blood dragons even more frantically. Especially the newly arrived one, which received its special attention. The newly arrived 1,000-year crimson blood dragon was not to be outdone. It condensed its spirit power and formed an energy ball near its mouth. The next second, an energy beam shot toward the bloodthirsty white tiger. What a cool move! Seeing this move of the crimson blood dragon, Yu Xiaogang's eyes lit up. The beam pierced through the body of the bloodthirsty white tiger, which further stimulated the bloodthirsty white tiger's combative nature. Seeing that the two sides were about to engage in a major battle, and Yu Xiaogang was looking forward to the outcome of this fight, just at this moment, Yu Yuanzhen patted Yu Xiaogang on the head. You've actually become addicted to watching. If the crimson blood dragon dies, God knows when we will encounter such a suitable spirit beast again. Yu Yuanzhen glared at Yu Xiaogang with annoyance. Heh, I didn't realize I was getting addicted to watching. After Yu Yuanzhen's reminder, Yu Xiaogang finally came back to his senses and scratched his head with an embarrassed smile. Shaking his head, Yu Yuanzhen activated his spirit, leaped, and appeared on the other side of the battlefield. Hearing the movement from Yu Yuanzhen's side, both the crimson blood dragons and the bloodthirsty white tiger were stunned. Then their bodies trembled all over. Because Yu Yuanzhen's aura as a strong titled Douluo expert was already undoubtedly revealed. Almost in an instant, all the fur on the bloodthirsty white tiger stood up, and after a roar, it tucked its tail between its legs and fled the scene without a word. It was combative and bloodthirsty, but that was when facing opponents that were similar to it or slightly stronger. If it were an existence that it absolutely could not contend with, it would still run away. Yu Yuanzhen did not care about the bloodthirsty white tiger's escape. His goal from beginning to end was the crimson blood dragon. Consequently, very quickly, the two crimson blood dragons, which had been beaten until they couldn't move, fell to the ground. Chapter 52, Yu Xiaogang's Crazy Decision, the 1,000-year First Soul Ring. Coming to Yu Yuanzhen's side and looking at the two fallen crimson blood dragons, Yu Xiaogang examined the condition of the first one. And this look made Yu Xiaogang's brows furrow tightly. Only 700-odd years. Yu Xiaogang looked at Yu Yuanzhen and found that he was also frowning at this time. Clearly, father and son were thinking the same thing at this moment. The age of this crimson blood dragon was a bit too low. After the family discovered the secret of whale jelly, it had already undergone multiple tests. In the past 2 years, several family members who consumed 1,000-year whale gel have successfully obtained spirit rings of over 500 years. Among them, there were those of 500-odd years, 600-odd years, and also 700-odd years. The family members who obtained 700-plus-year rings already had a certain foundation themselves. Combined with the 1,000-year whale gel, they completed their transformation and instantly became figures surrounded by stars and the moon. But those people were all ordinary disciples of the family. Because Yu Xiaogang discovered the secret of whale jelly, he received treatment at the level of a spirit Douluo. The resources he could enjoy were unimaginable for those ordinary family disciples. Coupled with Yu Xiaogang's diligent and hard training, it could be said that even without consuming whale jelly, the first soul ring Yu Xiaogang could obtain would be over 400 years. With a bit of grit, he might even break the current record of the Douluo continent. Under these circumstances, with Yu Yuanzhen's help, Yu Xiaogang also consumed and refined a piece of 10,000-year whale glue. With such a foundation, it could be said that an 800-year first soul ring would be easy. If he took a bit of a risk, a 900-year first soul ring wasn't out of the question to try for. In this situation, a 700-year first soul ring was somewhat unpresentable. How about we keep looking? Yu Yuanzhen, feeling disappointed in his heart, glanced at Yu Xiaogang and said. As a father, he knew his son's capabilities and determination very well, so he was certain that Yu Xiaogang would definitely not choose this 700-year crimson blood dragon. However, Yu Xiaogang's next decision gave Yu Yuanzhen a huge shock. No, father, no need to look further, this is the one. As if he had made some sort of decision, Yu Xiaogang looked at Yu Yuanzhen with a determined gaze. Are you sure? But this is only 700 years. Yu Yuanzhen, not yet understanding Yu Xiaogang's meaning, furrowed his brows. Then he discovered that Yu Xiaogang's gaze wasn't looking at the 700-year crimson blood dragon at all, but rather at the one that was just over 1,000 years old. You want to absorb this 1,000-year crimson blood dragon. Finally understanding, Yu Yuanzhen's eyes widened, and then he immediately rejected it. No, absolutely not, a 1,000-year first soul ring, what are you thinking? Even if your body has been strengthened by the 10,000-year whale glue, and you could risk trying for a 900-year spirit ring, a 1,000-year spirit ring is different from a 100-year spirit ring. Don't just look at the 100-year difference between 1,000 years and 900 years. Their essence is fundamentally different. The spirit power impact of a 1,000-year spirit ring far exceeds that of 900 years. Even if your body was stronger, it would be difficult to withstand a 1,000-year first soul ring. Yu Yuanzhen's words were like rapid-fire cannonballs, giving Yu Xiaogang no room to speak at all. A 1,000-year second spirit ring was already hard for him to imagine, let alone a 1,000-year first soul ring. You're not trying to absorb a spirit ring, you're trying to commit suicide. Listening to Yu Yuanzhen's rapid-fire words, Yu Xiaogang's expression never changed. Only after Yu Yuanzhen finished speaking did he finally open his mouth. Father, I know the difference between a 1,000-year spirit ring and a 100-year spirit ring is massive. I also know such an attempt is very risky. But isn't the path of a spirit master just like this? Without risk, how can one become stronger? Especially for someone with low talent like me, if I want to become a powerhouse, I must take risks that others dare not take. Yu Xiaogang said each word with conviction. Hearing this, Yu Yuanzhen's expression still didn't soften. He understood taking risks. To become a titled Douluo, he had also encountered countless life and death crises. When adding spirit rings to himself, he also chose rings that were as close to his limit as possible. But compared to his own risks, the scale of Yu Xiaogang's risk this time was simply too large. A 1,000-year first soul ring. Such a thing had never appeared before. Yu Yuanzhen estimated that even the angel god enshrined by the spirit hall probably couldn't have done such a thing before rising to power. If even a god had never achieved a 1,000-year first soul ring, didn't that prove such a thing was simply impossible? Still no, it's too risky. Yu Yuanzhen rejected it again. He came to Yu Xiaogang's side and placed both hands on his shoulders. Xiaogang, I know you are smart and have your own opinions on everything. I also know you want to become a powerhouse and wash away the humiliation on your body. But this time, you really must listen to me. A 1,000-year first soul ring is an impossible condition to meet. In all the years of the Douluo continent, there has never been such a record. It shows that even the angel god of the spirit hall could not do this. How could you, a child, especially a child with poor talent, do something that even a god couldn't do? Yu Yuanzhen said in a heavy voice. Although his son Yu Xiaogang had caused him to suffer various criticisms at the beginning, Yu Yuanzhen had never looked down on him. Later, Yu Xiaogang also responded to the love he gave him, proving his talent. So in Yu Yuanzhen's heart, those taunts and humiliations were no longer important. What he cared about was his son. Even if he remained mediocre for a lifetime. But father, why is it that if others can't do it, we certainly can't either? Yu Xiaogang countered calmly. The appearance of whale jelly has already pushed the age of the first soul ring to over 800 years. Why is 1,000 years definitely impossible? In everything, someone has to try for there to be a possibility of a breakthrough, right? Yu Xiaogang looked directly into Yu Yuanzhen's eyes, without the slightest intention of backing down. And as you said, father, I am a child with poor talent. If I don't do things that ordinary people find unimaginable, how can I become a powerhouse with this kind of talent? Only in this way can I wash away the humiliation for myself and for you, father. So that in the future, when you go out and meet others, what they think in their hearts is no longer, that's the father of that trash Yu Xiaogang, but rather, that's the father of the Yu Xiaogang who created a miracle. Yu Xiaogang's words were powerful and resonant. Hearing his words and looking into his eyes, Yu Yuanzhen understood that he could no longer stop Yu Xiaogang's determination. Chapter 53 Yu Xiaogang, Impossible, Absolutely Impossible. Black World, Shrek Academy. Watching Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain actually choose a spirit beast of 1,000 years for his first soul ring, everyone gasped. Is it possible? Zhao Wuji, Flender and the others looked at each other, their wide eyes and agape mouths proving their disbelief. 1,000-year first soul ring, they were afraid they were listening to the delusions of an ignorant person. As powerhouses at the Spirit Saint and Spirit Emperor levels, they had all absorbed spirit rings of 1,000 years. And it was precisely because they had absorbed them that they could understand how correct Yu Yuanzhen's worries and obstruction were. A century spirit ring and a 1,000-year spirit ring, the spirit power contained within them were completely different levels. Why was it that the first 2-century spirit rings and the third 1,000-year spirit ring were already the optimal spirit ring combination? Because only when reaching the spirit elder level could one's body truly withstand the spirit power within a 1,000-year spirit ring. Yet even so, there were plenty of spirit masters whose third soul ring was still a century spirit ring. Therefore, they really could not imagine how that Dragon God Douluo in the heavenly curtain managed to apply a 1,000-year spirit ring to himself as his first soul ring. Even if he used 10,000-year whale glue to strengthen his body, everyone still could not imagine it. Yet the result of the matter was already placed before them. The title of Dragon God Douluo had already proven everything. The Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain really had accomplished this. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Suddenly, the Yu Xiaogang on the side waved his arms, a smile that was hard for everyone to describe on his face. How is it impossible? The heavenly curtain told you the result from the very beginning. That person in the heavenly curtain became a titled Douluo. Not dying already proves that the Dragon God Douluo successfully obtained a 1,000-year first soul ring. Hearing Yu Xiaogang's words, Ning Rongrong immediately said. Nowadays, she already regarded the Dragon God Douluo in the heavenly curtain as an idol. There was no helping it, daring to attempt a 1,000-year spirit ring for the first soul ring and succeeding. Even Ning Rongrong, who was accustomed to seeing titled Douluo, admired such a person very much. Previously, Ning Rongrong generally only admired 2 types of people. The first type was the strong, like her own grandfathers, Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo. Ning Rongrong admired them the most. The second type was those whose talent was visible to the naked eye and far surpassed her own. Like Tang San, who, with the strength of a 2-ring spirit grandmaster, could fight against the spirit saint Zhao Wuji and still win against him, Ning Rongrong admired such a person as well. And the Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain was the newly appeared third type. Daring to think of things others dared not think of, and putting them into practice. For such a person, Ning Rongrong inevitably developed feelings of admiration. Because if she put herself in his shoes, if Ning Rongrong were in Yu Xiaogang's position, what would she do? I would continue to search for a suitable spirit beast with His Excellency Thunder. This was Ning Rongrong's answer, so she admired Yu Xiaogang, because the other party had done something she dared not even think of. Ning Rongrong's words were also the thoughts in the hearts of everyone at Shrek Academy now. Even Dai Mubai, who harbored enmity toward Yu Xiaogang, had to admit at this moment that the Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain was indeed impressive. Who said that not dying definitely meant obtaining 1,000-year first soul ring? Yu Xiaogang laughed and retorted, "Have you all forgotten, beside that guy in the heavenly curtain, there was a titled Douluo? With a titled Douluo's level of control over spirit power, they could manage to intervene and interrupt a spirit master's process of absorbing a spirit ring." At this moment, Yu Xiaogang was full of confidence. Previously, his judgment of Yu Xiaogang was wrong, because he did not expect that there was something like 10,000-year whale glue in this world. And he did not expect that the process of absorbing the medicinal effect could actually allow a titled Douluo to protect one's own meridians. This seriously interfered with his judgment. But this time it was different. For something like absorbing a spirit ring, if one wanted to succeed, one could only rely on oneself to endure it. No external force could help. Under these circumstances, how could he be wrong? Something like 1,000-year first soul ring simply could not happen. Therefore, he could conclude that the Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain must have been on the verge of death during the process of absorbing the spirit ring, and was finally interrupted by Yu Yuanzhen. The matter would and could only develop like this. Therefore, the final result could only be that the guy in the heavenly curtain was heavily injured due to grade, but was saved. Afterwards, learning from this experience, he chose a spirit ring suitable for himself next time. Hearing Yu Xiaogang's words, Tang San, Dai Mubai, and Ma Hongzhen pondered for a moment, then revealed expressions of sudden realization. If it was like this, it made sense. Indeed, compared to accepting that someone could attach 1,000-year spirit ring to themselves for their first soul ring, they were more willing to accept Grandmaster's explanation. Zhao Wuji, Flender, and the others on the side also acknowledged Yu Xiaogang's judgment. Because it was really just as Yu Xiaogang said, there were no shortcuts to absorbing spirit rings. Spirit masters could only endure it head-on. Under these circumstances, they were still more willing to believe their own judgment. But Enning Rongrong was still willing to believe Yu Xiaogang, but the key was that she really could not find a reason to refute Grandmaster. Before, there was no second choice, either die or succeed, so no matter how hard it was to believe, she could only believe it. But now, with a second choice, her reason directly pulled her toward the second option. Because the knowledge in her heart kept telling her that 1,000-year first soul ring, or whatever, was too outrageous, it was simply impossible for anyone to achieve. After listening to Yu Xiaogang's words, for a moment, everyone at Shrek Academy breathed a sigh of relief. They had really thought before that the gap between themselves and that Dragon God Douluo was so large. It turned out to be a false alarm. At the same time, in every part of the Black World, various forces also developed a judgment similar to Yu Xiaogang's. No one thought that the Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain could achieve the accomplishment of 1,000-year first soul ring. After all, they were both titled Douluo. If your first soul ring was 1,000-year one and ours was a century one, the gap between them was simply too large. If it were really like that, why were you still a titled Douluo and not directly become a god? It's just because he had a titled Douluo father protecting him on the side. Otherwise, based on his level of recklessness, he would never have become a titled Douluo. In the main hall of the Clear Sky sect in the Black World, the eyes of the elders looking at Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain were already filled with disdain at this moment. They had thought he was so impressive, but it turned out he was just a lucky brat who could only achieve so much by relying on the shade of his father's generation. HMPH, he's actually about the same as our world's Yu Xiaogang, just a bit smarter. A cold snort rang out, causing everyone sitting in the hall, including Tang Xiao in the main seat, to nod in agreement. However, thinking that such a person could also become a titled Douluo, they, who now knew the value of whale jelly, would surely be able to cultivate many titled Douluo in the future. This Yu Xiaogang has actually done all the work for our benefit, ha 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 ha. Chapter 54, Absorbing the Spirit Ring. The video continues. Looking at Yu Xiaogang's unyielding gaze, Yu Yuanzhen understood that his son had already made up his mind. You are really this daring? You really don't consider the thoughts of others at all, such as me. If you were to have an accident, what would you have me think? There was a trace of anger in Yu Yuanzhen's voice, but Yu Xiaogang understood that his father actually meant he agreed. Actually, I'm not really risking my life. If I truly can't bear it, wouldn't it be fine if you stepped in to help me interrupt the process of absorbing the spirit ring? Yu Xiaogang spread his hands and revealed his fallback plan. You think I don't know you? Among children your age, you are the most determined one I have ever seen. Other children cultivate for a few days and always cry and make a fuss, but from the moment you started to cultivate until now, you have never stopped. Even if it's exhausting or bitter, you never say a word. Yu Yuanzhen said with a rather complicated mood. Knowing your personality, is it hard to guess what you would do when encountering issues? I am certain that when you absorb the spirit ring later, you will definitely grit your teeth and persist. Even if it reaches a very dangerous point, you will not give up. As for the matter of being able to interrupt your absorption of the spirit ring, do you think I wouldn't know that? The real reason I disagreed is because I am afraid you will persist too much. Speaking of this, Yu Yuanzhen came in front of Yu Xiaogang, half squatted down, and placed his hand on his shoulder. With the palm pressing on his shoulder, Yu Xiaogang felt his shoulder sink significantly, and he could feel his father's nervousness from the force transmitted from his palm. Xiaogang, you must promise me not to force yourself. When you truly cannot persist, tell me. Don't be like I said, persisting too much, that can really kill people. The force of the palm on his shoulder increased significantly. Yu Xiaogang gazed into Yu Yuanzhen's worried eyes and nodded. Rest assured, father, I haven't lived enough yet. Having made a promise to Yu Yuanzhen, Yu Xiaogang drew his weapon and came before that crimson blood dragon that had been beaten until it couldn't move. Facing the crimson blood dragon's unwilling gaze, Yu Xiaogang ended its life with one sword strike. The next second, a purple spirit ring appeared, floating above the crimson blood dragon's body. Carefully examining the purple spirit ring in front of him, Yu Xiaogang took a deep breath and summoned his spirit. The little dragon appeared on the scene. As soon as it emerged, it saw the crimson blood dragon corpse in front of it, as well as that floating purple thousand-year spirit ring. Almost instinctively, the little dragon went to the side of the thousand-year spirit ring, its big eyes curiously examining the spirit ring. Smiling, Yu Xiaogang used his spirit power to pull the spirit ring. Under the guidance of his spirit power, the spirit ring flew towards Yu Xiaogang. During this time, Yu Xiaogang sat cross-legged on the ground and summoned the little dragon back to his side. When the spirit ring arrived above his head, in an instant, Yu Xiaogang felt unprecedented pressure. Immediately after, without waiting for Yu Xiaogang to react, the spirit ring above his head rapidly shrank, becoming slightly larger than the little dragon's body, and settled around the little dragon. The little dragon, trapped by the spirit ring, let out a cry of surprise. Afterward, Yu Xiaogang felt a powerful force rush into his body. This force was as scorching as flame. Almost instantly, this energy flowed through his entire body, making Yu Xiaogang feel as if he were burning inside. "O gods, I beg you to bless this child, Xiaogang." Yu Yuanzhen, who was on the side, watched Yu Xiaogang begin to absorb the spirit ring and couldn't help but pray in a low voice. He had personally watched Yu Xiaogang work hard, little by little, to reach this day. Therefore, he knew very clearly what this spirit ring absorption meant for him. He now only hoped that his son could succeed. At the very least, he had to remain safe. Yu Xiaogang was destined not to hear Yu Yuanzhen's prayer, because at this moment, he was being burned by the scorching energy within his body. The burning energy seemed to ignite his body. Yu Xiaogang only felt that at this moment, it was as if he were bathing in magma. Immersing his consciousness into that sea of magma, Yu Xiaogang saw his spirit, the little dragon. It was also enduring the erosion of the magma. And under the erosion of the magma, the purple fur on the little dragon's body was fading away, little by little. Its skin began to become firm. Its limbs, which had originally resembled pig trotters, began to grow. Its corpulent body was also becoming leaner, little by little, under the roasting of the magma. Seeing such a scene, Yu Xiaogang was overjoyed, because these changes represented that the little dragon was evolved. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. Unfortunately, very soon, Yu Xiaogang had no time to pay attention to the little dragon's changes. Because even more intense, even more violent energy rushed into Yu Xiaogang's body like a flood. The momentum of the flood was essentially scorching magma. Under the impact of these energies, Yu Xiaogang's body began to tremble, to suffer, and to hiss. Intense pain swept through every cell in his entire body, making Yu Xiaogang just want to open his mouth right now and have his father help him interrupt the absorption of the spirit ring. But Yu Xiaogang also knew clearly that if he let his father interrupt, he would only be able to absorb a 100-year spirit ring. Even because of the damage caused to his foundation by this interruption, the 900-year spirit ring he could have originally attempted would now be impossible to try. So should he interrupt it? Of course not. With supreme willpower, Yu Xiaogang endured the pain coming from all over his body and refined the power within him. But very soon, another wave of intense energy impacted Yu Xiaogang's body, making him clearly feel that the surface of his body had begun to bleed. At the same time, Yu Yuanzhen, who was beside Yu Xiaogang, saw that Yu Xiaogang's body surface had begun to bleed. He walked forward quickly, intending to interrupt Yu Xiaogang's absorption. But just at this moment, he remembered the look Yu Xiaogang had given him earlier, and in the end, he did not take action. Time passed second by second. Blood constantly flowed from Yu Xiaogang's body, dyeing him into a blood-covered person. As a titled Douluo, Yu Yuanzhen could no longer control his own body at this moment. His hands were trembling. Xiaogang, you must succeed. At this moment in Yu Xiaogang's consciousness, Yu Xiaogang, who was still gritting his teeth and persisting, had completely lost his perception of time. In his eyes there was only persistence, persistence, and more persistence. However, just at this moment, Yu Xiaogang in his consciousness suddenly felt that the pain in his body had lessened a lot. Is this about to be completed? Yu Xiaogang thought in his heart, but the still scalding energy and the intense pain in his body told him it had not ended. Thus, Yu Xiaogang followed the feeling, wanting to find the reason for the reduction of pain in his body. Afterward, he saw the reason in his world of consciousness. So that's how it is. Looking at the little dragon, which was getting away a portion of the energy rushing towards him, being assailed by these energies, causing its body pain so that it had to curl up into a ball, yet it was also gritting its teeth and persisting just like him. At this moment, even though pain was still spreading throughout his entire body, Yu Xiaogang had an urge to laugh out loud. To possess a spirit like the little dragon, how fortunate he was. Finally, taking one day and one night, Yu Xiaogang completed the absorption of the first soul ring. And he also achieved an unprecedented accomplishment. 1,000-year first soul ring. Chapter 55, an unprecedented achievement. A day and a night passed. Yu Yuanzhen, who had been closely watching Yu Xiaogang's condition, now had eyes bloodshot with exhaustion. His previously well-groomed hair was now a disheveled mess. But Yu Yuanzhen was in no mood to care about such things. He didn't dare let his gaze leave Yu Xiaogang's body for even a second. Bright red blood had formed a layer of scab on the surface of Yu Xiaogang's body, and the blood that continued to flow out kept adding to its thickness. To be honest, looking at this layer of blood scabs, Yu Yuanzhen wondered where his son could possibly have so much blood to lose. He worried that by the time the spirit ring absorption was finished, Yu Xiaogang would have become an empty shell. Yu Yuanzhen's mind was filled with chaotic thoughts, and it was at this very moment. The fluctuations of energy dissipated, and everything returned to tranquility. Yu Xiaogang, who had been grit-teeth enduring with a contorted face, finally relaxed his expression, and his body fell uncontrollably toward the ground. Yu Yuanzhen, who hadn't relaxed his vigilance for a moment, flashed forward to Yu Xiaogang's side and caught him. Father, I did it. On Yu Xiaogang's blood-caked face, a smile broke out that was almost imperceptible. Accompanied by Yu Xiaogang's extremely hoarse voice, it made Yu Yuanzhen's heart ache. Good, good, it's good that you did it, it's good. Yu Yuanzhen's nose felt sour, and tears almost uncontrollably flowed down. Heaven knows how much torment he had endured during this day and night. Countless times, Yu Yuanzhen wanted to stop Yu Xiaogang's absorption, but at the thought that if he intervened and interrupted, all of Yu Xiaogang's previous efforts and determination would go to waste, he couldn't bring himself to act. So now, knowing that Yu Xiaogang had truly succeeded, joy, relief, and various other emotions erupted in his heart, causing even a titled Douluo like him to be unable to control his tears. Next time, really don't take this kind of risk again. Even if you can't achieve anything, you are still my Yu Yuanzhen's son. If those people want to laugh, let them laugh. Can they laugh away my strength as a titled Douluo? Yu Yuanzhen's voice carried an obvious lingering fear. He really never wanted to experience such a day and night again. Unfortunately, Yu Yuanzhen's words were destined to receive no response from Yu Xiaogang. Because the persistence of a day and night had exhausted Yu Xiaogang to the extreme, both physically and mentally. After hearing Yu Yuanzhen say, "It's good that you did it," he fell into a deep sleep with a smile on his face. Yu Xiaogang didn't know how long he would sleep, but he knew that when he woke up, the scenery he would see would never be the same again. White World, Spirit Hall. Wu Xiaogang, why are you so foolish? How could you dare to do something so dangerous? If you hadn't made it through back then, what would you have expected father and me to do? Ever since Yu Xiaogang began absorbing the spirit ring, and his body became covered in blood, Bibaidong had been like this. Sobbing and constantly blaming Yu Xiaogang for being too reckless. Regarding Bibaidong's concern, Yu Xiaogang only gave a slight smile. If I hadn't taken that risk back then, perhaps the two of us wouldn't have ended up together later. Would you have preferred that? Yu Xiaogang's words made Bibaidong stop even her sobbing, but soon after, she nodded. Even if we couldn't be together, I still wouldn't want you to take such a risk. Compared to us being together, I would rather you be alive and well. Hearing Bibaidong's words, Yu Xiaogang felt a warmth in his heart and pulled her into his arms to comfort her properly. Hu Liena, watching Yu Xiaogang and Bibaidong from the side, couldn't help but fantasize about what kind of man she would meet in the future. But no matter how she thought about it, Hu Liena would compare any man she might meet with Yu Xiaogang. And the comparison would leave them with nothing but dust. In this world, is there really any man who can compare to Dragon God His Eminence? Hu Liena thought to herself, then immediately shook her head. At least she couldn't imagine what kind of person could possibly match Yu Xiaogang. Then a thought occurred to Hu Liena. She feared that in the future, she might end up like those seniors who loved Yu Xiaogang, remaining single for a lifetime. Sitting on the other side, watching the heavenly curtain Qian Douluo, Gold Crocodile Douluo, and the others let out a long sigh of relief almost simultaneously as they saw Yu Xiaogang successfully absorb the 1,000-year first soul ring in the image. Watching the previous scenes, they had undoubtedly projected themselves onto Yu Xiaogang. They truly hadn't even dared to breathe, fearing their own breathing would disturb the scene of Yu Xiaogang absorbing the spirit ring in the heavenly curtain and cause him to fail at the final step. It's no wonder that kid could achieve what he has today. He didn't give up even like that. He's truly ruthless toward himself. Speaking of which, big brother, if it were you back then, would you have dared to directly take a 1,000-year first soul ring for your first soul ring? Gold Crocodile Douluo remarked with emotion, and after finishing, he looked toward Qian Douluo. The Qian family of Spirit Hall, if one were to rank the families of the entire Douluo continent, the Qian family would definitely be ranked first. For no other reason than the fact that the Qian family possessed the divine rank Spirit, Seraphim, passed down by the angel God. For ordinary spirit masters on the Douluo continent, the full innate soul power is rank 10, even for the upper 3 sects. But in the Qian family, as long as one can awaken the Seraphim spirit, the worst would still be rank 10 innate spirit power. Someone like Qian Douluo, whose talent was maxed out, directly had rank 20 innate spirit power. And as the jewel in the palm of the Elder Hall, Qian Renxu, who has the chance to inherit the position of the angel god in the future, or at the very least become an invincible divine attendant like Qian Douluo, also had rank 20 innate spirit power. With rank 20 innate spirit power, the start is incomparably faster than other spirit masters, and the foundation is incredibly solid. That's why Gold Crocodile Douluo was curious if, with Qian Douluo's talent, there was a possibility for a 1,000-year first soul ring. Of course, this was without using whale jelly. If 10,000-year whale glue were used, Qian Dailu's first soul ring would definitely be 1,000-year. I couldn't do it. After a moment of contemplation, Qian Dailu finally shook his head. At 6 years old, even with the boost of rank 20 innate spirit power, my body was still too weak. If I delayed obtaining the first soul ring, perhaps until the age Xiaogang was when he got his, I could have tried to attach a 1,000-year first soul ring. But there was absolutely no need for that. In the time it would take, I might as well have added new spirit rings to myself earlier. Even if the age of the spirit rings was a bit lower, it could be supplemented later through the god's trial. Hearing Qian Dailu's words, Gold Crocodile Douluo nodded. He secretly marveled in his heart. It's only your Qian family that gets stronger, no matter how you cultivate. If Yu Xiaogang had been born into your Qian family, and the angel god didn't choose him to inherit the godhood, it would only prove the angel god was blind. Chapter 56, Reactions from All Sides. White World, Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect. Sigh. Even looking back at this now, my back is completely covered in cold sweat. How did I agree to Xiaogang's idea back then, and actually persist for a day and a night without stepping in to stop him? Yu Yuanzhen looked at the images on the heavenly curtain, his voice filled with emotion and lingering fear. The elders on the side glanced at each other, and finally, the Grand Elder spoke up. So that was how the specific process went back then. It was far more dangerous than what we had heard. The Grand Elder also recalled the shock Yu Xiaogang brought them after returning from obtaining his first soul ring. It was a shock that truly made a group of people slap themselves, wanting to wake up from a dream. But it's no wonder the sect master had such a violent temper when he brought Xiaogang back to the sect back then. If it were me, I would have had the same reaction. The second elder also remembered the events of that year. As he spoke, his gaze shifted toward the third elder nearby. The third elder stared blankly at the heavenly curtain, sighed, and ultimately said nothing. If the people of the White World accepted everything shown on the heavenly curtain well, because they had known about Yu Xiaogang's heaven-defying nature early on, at most remarking on how ruthless Yu Xiaogang was toward himself. Then in the Black World at this moment, the sound of people gasping in shock could be heard everywhere across the continent. Spirit Hall, Supreme Pontiff Palace. How is it possible? He actually succeeded. Bibi Dong looked at the screen showing Yu Xiaogang successfully absorbing a 1,000-year first soul ring in disbelief. For the first time, she pulled Dragon God Douluo Yu Xiaogang out of his identity as the parallel world counterpart of her beloved Yu Xiaogang, and viewed him as a powerhouse of the same generation. Because of Yu Xiaogang's feat, even Bibi Dong, with her love brain, could no longer find any sense of familiarity in Yu Xiaogang. The difference between Yu Xiaogang and the Yu Xiaogang of her own world was simply too great. Having detached him from the identity of Yu Xiaogang's counterpart, Bibi Dong compared herself to him. Though their backgrounds were different, they were essentially the same, as he had his father Yu Yuanzhen and she had that beast of a teacher. Setting aside what happened later, in the early stages, she was indeed the darling of their entire spirit hall. In terms of talent, his innate soul power was rank 1. No, it should be half a rank, while she not only had full innate soul power but also possessed twin spirits. Under these circumstances, he achieved a 1,000-year ring for his first soul ring, while she only had a 100-year ring. Comparing them like this, her talent was countless times better than his, yet she was being ground into the dirt by him. With a 1,000-year first soul ring as a foundation, his third soul ring could reach 10,000 years. She didn't even dare to imagine what the configuration of his subsequent spirit rings would be. With this comparison, if they became opponents, she estimated she would be completely no match for that Dragon God Douluo. However, I have already obtained a godhood legacy, he probably hasn't, right? Otherwise, the title used for the comparison wouldn't be Dragon God Douluo, but a godly title instead. Thinking this way, Bibi Dong's mood relaxed slightly. Being able to become a god versus not being able to is a gap as wide as heaven and earth. No matter how trashy a god is, dealing with a titled Douluo is an easy task. What a pity. 7 treasure glazed tile school. Admirable. The long silence was finally broken by Sword Douluo Chenzin's exclamation of admiration. As a brilliant titled Douluo, Chenzin rarely felt such deep respect for someone. Looking back at his life, there were not many people who could earn such admiration from him. The first was Chenzin's own father. The second was the Angel Douluo of Spirit Hall, Qian Dailiu. The third was Clear Sky Douluo Tang Chen, who was invincible on the Douluo continent alongside Qian Dailiu back then. Only these 3 people. But now there was one more, Dragon God Douluo Yu Xiaogang. Furthermore, Chenzin's admiration for Yu Xiaogang was not based on the strength he possessed, but on the fact that he dared to do, and actually accomplished, something unprecedented on the Douluo continent. Even if the Yu Xiaogang who had only just obtained his first soul ring appeared before him now, he would still admire the man. This truly is astonishing. Ning Fengzhai likewise sighed with emotion. For Yu Xiaogang's determination and his conviction to sacrifice everything. One must know that at this point in the heavenly curtain, Yu Xiaogang had already discovered whale glue and proved himself to the sect. He had even obtained the treatment of a spirit Douluo from the sect. It could be said that upon achieving this, many people would have been satisfied. Like the Yu Xiaogang of their own world, Ning Fengzhai had looked into this person and knew he had always wanted to prove himself. However, Ning Fengzhai was certain that if it were their world's Yu Xiaogang who discovered whale glue, that man would have had no further achievements afterward. He would have rested on the laurels of the whale glue discovery, enjoying the spirit Douluo treatment given by the family and living a comfortable, beautiful life. But Yu Xiaogang, who could have done the same, did not do so. Instead, he risked the possibility of losing his life to absorb a 1,000-year first soul ring. The firmness of his mind caused even someone like Ning Fengzhai, who was used to seeing all kinds of people, to be shocked by it. If only our 7 treasure glazed tile school could produce a figure like Yu Xiaogang. Thinking of this, Ning Fengzhai shook his head. Better not to think about it. This kind of thing really gets more painful the more one dwells on it. Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect. While other sects might sigh with emotion, or discuss it upon seeing Yu Xiaogang successfully absorb a 1,000-year first soul ring, the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect only had dead silence. A long time had passed since Yu Xiaogang successfully absorbed the spirit ring on the heavenly curtain. But within the room there was always a deathly silence. If things like discovering whale glue could still provide some comfort to the hearts of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect members, then at this moment, what Yu Xiaogang displayed could only leave their hearts completely empty. Why could someone else's Yu Xiaogang do such things, while our Yu Xiaogang is like that? Both are sons, so why is someone else's son so successful, while my son has made me lose face across the entire Douluo continent? If our Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect had such a disciple, we could guarantee the family would not decline for hundreds of years, but why is all of this someone else's? Jealousy, bitterness, resentment, all kinds of negative emotions continuously piled up in this small room, making it hard to breathe. There is no harm without comparison. It was precisely because they had experienced the comparison and had interacted with their Yu Xiaogang that this group of people could better understand exactly what kind of trash their version of Yu Xiaogang was. Sigh. With a sigh, Yu Yuanzhen covered his face and slumped into his chair. The other elders, every single one of them, eventually ended up in this state. Too mentally exhausted to even want to speak. They didn't even know what they should say. Forget it, just let everything be destroyed. And if one were to ask where the person most incredulous at this image was at this moment, that would certainly only be at Shrek Academy. Chapter 57 Qian Rengxu, I'm going to cultivate hard. Black World, Shrek Academy. He, Grandmaster, didn't you say before that it was definitely impossible to succeed? Why aren't you speaking now? Do you not like to speak? Seeing Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain successfully absorbing the spirit ring, everyone was stunned on the spot. After a long silence, Ning Rongrong, who had come to her senses, looked at Yu Xiaogang with a smile on her face. That upturned mouth and sarcastic gaze fell into Yu Xiaogang's eyes, making him recall those guys who had once denied him. Logically speaking, seeing such a gaze, Yu Xiaogang should be very furious and very life-kai. But now he had no time to think about those things at all. His brain was in a mess. He couldn't figure it out, couldn't understand, couldn't comprehend why the same father, the same family, and the same spirit. In the end, there would be such a huge gap between him and that Yu Xiaogang from the parallel world. Why? Was there anywhere he was inferior to the other? Both were humans, awakening the same spirit, and their innate soul power was not high. Why could the other person do such a thing while he couldn't? 1,000-year first soul ring. Even his most proud disciple Tang San didn't dare to try, yet he tried and even succeeded. Was he really not afraid that he wouldn't be able to withstand the power of the spirit ring and explode to death? Thump! His legs went weak, and Yu Xiaogang slumped to the ground, constantly muttering to himself. Impossible, impossible. Seeing Yu Xiaogang's despondent look, Ning Rongrong immediately lost the idea of continuing to mock him. It wasn't interesting at all. Tang San, who was nearby, saw Yu Xiaogang's pathetic and dazed state, and unusually did not step forward to comfort him. Because at this moment, Tang San was also questioning his life. He had always felt that taking the Grandmaster as his teacher was the most correct thing he had done in his life. Because under the Grandmaster's guidance, he became acquainted with the spirit system of the Douluo continent. He learned about many miraculous spirit beasts. Besides that, through Yu Xiaogang, he also knew many secrets of the continent. These were very important for Tang San's understanding of this world. Coupled with the path Yu Xiaogang chose for Tang San, it also secretly aligned with Tang San's idea of wanting to promote the Tang sect in the Douluo continent. It could be said that the superposition of various factors gave Tang San the idea that Yu Xiaogang was a teacher assigned to him by heaven. As someone who once lived in the Tang sect, Tang San actually believed in such things. This was also the reason why he had always defended Yu Xiaogang. But now, comparing through the heavenly curtain, Tang San suddenly found that his teacher Yu Xiaogang was lacking by far too much. Not to mention anything else, just the choice of spirit rings alone. His teacher Yu Xiaogang, out of fear of death, chose a spirit beast with a low age limit. On the other hand, the Dragon God Douluo in the heavenly curtain chose a 1,000-year spirit beast with a higher age limit that might even take his life. From this one incident alone, one could see how big the difference between the two was. One was a person who was not afraid of hardships, even if there were difficulties ahead. The other, despite having the confidence and certainty, chose a path with no danger at all because of a tiny bit of possible danger and fear of losing his life. With such character, in any similar choice in the future, his teacher Yu Xiaogang would definitely shrink back out of fear, just like when choosing the spirit beast for the first soul ring. For such a person to be his teacher, especially now that the heavenly curtain had compared him with that Yu Xiaogang from the parallel world. Under these circumstances, when he promotes the Tang sect in the Douluo continent in the future. At that time, would people feel disdain for the Tang sect because he had such a teacher? At the thought that he might not be able to develop the Tang sect because of Yu Xiaogang, a sense of coldness arose in Tang San's heart. However, Tang San quickly suppressed the thoughts in his heart for the time being. In any case, now is not the time to think about these things. For now, my cultivate still depends on the teacher's help. Besides, the teacher also said he would help me solve the drawbacks of the twin spirits. Thinking this way, Tang San's mood immediately calmed down. At least for now, Yu Xiaogang still had to be his good teacher. Heaven Du Empire, Crown Prince's residence. Zhu Qinghe, who was the Crown Prince, but whose actual identity was Qian Renxiu, the biological granddaughter of Qian Dailiu from the Spirit Hall's Qian family, was also staring blankly at Yu Xiaogang's figure in the heavenly curtain. Uncle Snake Spear, do you think I've been too slack? A pleasant female voice rang out in the room, with a clear sense of doubt in the voice. This. The Snake Lance Douluo who was asked, was silent for a moment, not knowing how to answer. Look, that Dragon God Douluo, with an innate soul power of level 1, risked his life, and finally obtained a 1,000-year first soul ring. With such low talent, he achieved this unprecedented achievement in the Douluo continent. As for me, with an innate soul power of level 20, my first soul ring is 100-year, my second soul ring is also 100-year, and only the third soul ring is 1,000-year. I didn't even think about a 1,000-year second soul ring, yet he could achieve a 1,000-year first soul ring. With such a starting point, how high will his future spirit ring configuration be? How fast will his cultivate speed become? Qian Renxiu even wanted to say that with the other party's ability, perhaps he could eventually become a god. But remembering that the title stated the other party was only a title Douluo, she didn't say the last words. Young miss, actually you don't need to compare yourself with him. I think his situation is a one-off case, which is why it was taken by the heavenly curtain for comparison. Such rare examples are not universal. Even if we know that whale glue can increase the age limit of spirit rings, I can guarantee that there won't be many people who can achieve a 1,000-year first soul ring in the future. Snake Lance Douluo said with a look of certainty. That's right, just like Tang Chen of the Clear Sky sect. Back then Tang Chen relied on a Clear Sky hammer and his self-created spirit ability to lead the Clear Sky sect to leap into one of the upper three sects. And that Tang Chen, like the High Priest, obtained the title of Invincible. But what about after that? The Clear Sky sect passed down the spirit ability created by Tang Chen, but who has truly reached that invincible realm of Tang Chen back then? So young miss, you don't need to worry about these things at all. As long as you cultivate step by step, sooner or later, you will be able to reach the strength of the High Priest. The porcupinefish Douluo on the side also chimed in. Hearing the words of the two-titled Douluo, Qian Renxiu felt much better. Yes, her situation was different from that Dragon God Douluo. He worked so hard because if he didn't, he wouldn't even be able to break through level 30. But as for her, even if she slacked off in her cultivate, she was destined to be a titled Douluo in the future. Comparing herself with the other party was completely adding to her own troubles. Nevertheless, Qian Renxiu had already decided to cultivate well from now on. And when obtaining spirit rings, she would also try to break through her limits. As the top genius of the Douluo continent, she didn't want to be compared to the point of being in the mud. Chapter 58, Yu Xiaogang, I'm going to make everyone's jaws drop. The people of the two Douluo continents were buzzing with discussion about Yu Xiaogang obtaining a 1,000-year first soul ring. Many also had the idea of learning from Yu Xiaogang. However, as soon as this thought arose, everyone glanced at Yu Xiaogang beside Yu Xiaogang and shook their heads. Having a titled Douluo present while absorbing a spirit ring, ready to save one's life at any moment, such a condition was not something just anyone could have. Thus, for a time, the topics of discussion were limited to how heaven-defying Yu Xiaogang was. Besides that, most people were more curious about what kind of spirit ability this 1,000-year first soul ring had granted Yu Xiaogang. The video continues. When Yu Xiaogang opened his eyes again, sunlight shone on him, and a warm sensation spread through his entire body. Yu Xiaogang was about to get up, but as soon as he moved, a sharp pain erupted across his body. Hiss, it hurts. The pain swept through his whole body, making Yu Xiaogang instantly afraid to move. Even so, the pain continued to spread, refusing to subside for a long while. HMPH, so you do no pain. Just then, a huffy voice drifted over. Yu Xiaogang rolled his eyes to look and saw Yu Xiaogang leaning against the doorframe, looking at him irritably. Father eyes, what happened? Yu Xiaogang asked, and then scenes of him absorbing the 1,000-year first soul ring flashed through his mind. Thinking of this, Yu Xiaogang's eyes widened. He wanted to circulate his spirit power and call out Little Dragon. Lie still. Just as Yu Xiaogang was about to try, Yu Xiaogang stepped forward and flicked Yu Xiaogang's forehead. Hiss, it hurts. Although Yu Xiaogang hadn't used much force with that flick, Yu Xiaogang's entire body was in pain, so he couldn't help but let out a howl. In your current state, there's hardly a single part of your body that's unharmed. The impact of that 1,000-year spirit ring nearly caused your body to collapse countless times. It's a good thing your willpower is extraordinary, that's the only reason you endured it. But even so, the impact of the spirit power from the spirit ring, combined with the blood you lost over the past day and night, has left you in this incredibly weakened state. Count yourself lucky. The direction we took out of the Stardew Great Forest happened to lead to a large city, and there was a healing-type spirit emperor in that city. If not for him, I can't imagine what would have become of your body. Though Yu Yuanzhen's words sounded angry, a flash of heartache crossed his eyes. After Yu Xiaogang had fainted upon finishing the absorption of the 1,000-year spirit ring, Yu Yuanzhen had inspected his body while carrying him out of the Stardew Great Forest. It really had been a close call. Remember this, you are not allowed to do this again. Hearing Yu Yuanzhen's words, although Yu Xiaogang's body was in pain, a smile appeared on his face. So I really succeeded. Meeting Yu Xiaogang's expectant gaze, Yu Yuanzhen's expression softened instantly. Yes, you succeeded. You have achieved a 1,000-year first soul ring, something unprecedented on the Douluo continent. Hearing this, Yu Xiaogang's eyes shone, unprecedented indeed. To be able to achieve such a feat, his life truly hadn't been in vain. However, having said that, don't get ahead of yourself. The path of a spirit master's cultivation can never be entirely smooth sailing. You never know what kind of dangers and problems await you ahead. So Xiaogang, you must not be in a hurry. Saying this, Yu Yuanzhen sat by Yu Xiaogang's side and tucked in the corner of his blanket. With what you've shown now, you can just cultivate like a normal spirit master in the future. From now on, no one will ever mock you again. Your talent of innate level 1 soul power is nothing in the face of your 1,000-year first soul ring. Hearing Yu Yuanzhen's words, Yu Xiaogang nodded slightly. Father, from now on, you won't have to avoid the continent's various events just because of me anymore. It's been several years now that you've been turning down invitations from various factions. The two great empires, the upper three sects, and the Spirit Hall hold various events every year. For example, the two great empires have founding celebrations, the Emperor's birthday, and other such events. The upper three sects and the Spirit Hall also hold awakening ceremonies or many other activities annually. These events generally invite experts from all over the world. As one of the upper three sects, the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon naturally receives invitations to all sorts of events. Although whether to go is entirely up to oneself, and factions won't lose face just because another didn't show up, attending such events is still quite beneficial. One can connect with friends, build closer relationships with other powers, and when these events are held, auctions are usually organized to sell rare treasures. Sometimes, even spirit bones appear at these auctions. It could be said that for these high-level social events on the Douluo continent, unless there's a real emergency, most people would take some time to attend. But in recent years, Yu Yuanzhen has never attended these events, always sending the sect's second elder in his place. Yu Xiaogang knew that Yu Yuanzhen was unwilling to let those people gossip. But now things are different. His first soul ring is a 1,000-year one. Yu Yuanzhen can fully use this to give the various factions something to talk about. Hahata, you've hit the nail on the head. Ever since I had a spat with an old rival during the Spirit Master competition years ago, I haven't had the heart to attend these gatherings. HMPH, when I go to the next gathering, just watch me make their jaws drop. Mentioning this made Yu Yuanzhen angry, but the thought that others would be the ones getting angry and feeling envious in the future made him feel much better. Back then, you said my son was no good, and I couldn't argue back. But from now on, I'll flaunt my son in front of you and pick on your descendants. You'd better be like I was back then, only getting angry without making a move. Thinking this, Yu Yuanzhen began to fantasize in his mind about how he would interact with those old rivals. Looking at Yu Yuanzhen, who had already started fantasizing about the future and was chuckling to himself from time to time, Yu Xiaogang shook his head and lay back on the bed. First soul ring, 1,000-year. By achieving this, he had already turned around his incredibly terrible start. However, just as Yu Yuanzhen said, the path of cultivation is never smooth sailing, and there will surely be a mountain of trouble waiting for him to solve in the future. Take Little Dragon, for instance. Yu Xiaogang was especially eager to see what kind of changes it had undergone. After all, Little Dragon had helped him alleviate a large portion of the pressure during the process of absorbing the spirit ring. Without Little Dragon, he wouldn't have been able to succeed at all. During that time, Little Dragon's body had also undergone an evolution, but he had no idea what it had ultimately evolved into. The more he thought about it, the more curious he became, but with his father around, Yu Xiaogang was forbidden from any activity, which made him feel quite depressed. Ugh, why can't I summon Little Dragon right now? Chapter 59, Little Dragon's Drastic Transformation. Yu Xiaogang's idea of summoning Little Dragon was forbidden, leaving him no choice but to stay in bed and recover from his injuries. During this time, Yu Yuanzhen brought healing-type spirit masters multiple times to help him recover, but even so, Yu Xiaogang's injuries were so severe that he needed a proper period of rest. After all, while spirit masters could heal Yu Xiaogang's wounds, they had no way to replenish the blood he had lost. Once Yu Xiaogang's body had recovered enough to withstand the fatigue of travel, Yu Yuanzhen bought an oversized carriage and placed Yu Xiaogang, along with his entire bed, directly into it. Thus, the father and son sat in the swaying carriage as they returned to the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. Inside the carriage. Haven't you been wanting to summon Little Dragon? Your body has recovered well, so give it a try now. Yu Yuanzhen said after a moment of thought, looking at Yu Xiaogang, who lay looking bored under the covers. Father, you finally agreed. Yu Xiaogang immediately perked up upon hearing this. He had been curious about Little Dragon's changes for many days. I didn't agree before because your injuries were too severe. Your entire network of meridians was nearly burst by the spirit power of the 1,000-year First Soul Ring. If you had rashly used spirit power at that time, and even a single part of your meridians had ruptured through the slightest negligence, you should know what the consequences would be. Yu Yuanzhen explained. Hearing Yu Yuanzhen's words, Yu Xiaogang's gaze turned sharp. Meridians are the paths through which spirit power circulates within the human body. If any part of the meridians is damaged, spirit power cannot circulate normally. When that happens, the spirit power within the meridians will leak from the damaged area out of the spirit master's body, leading to a drop in their cultivation level. On the Douluo continent, to cripple someone's cultivation, one only needs to destroy their entire network of meridians. That was close, that was close. Yu Xiaogang felt lucky in his heart. Of course, such emotions only flashed through his mind for an instant. At the moment, Yu Xiaogang was more curious about what his spirit, Little Dragon, had become. So Yu Xiaogang cautiously circulated his spirit power and summoned Little Dragon according to his usual method. As the spirit power flowed out, a glimmer of light emerged in front of Yu Xiaogang inside the carriage. Within this light, a small figure slowly manifested. When the light dissipated, the drastically transformed Little Dragon appeared before Yu Xiaogang and Yu Yuanzhen. The light purple fur that once covered its entire body was gone. Now, Little Dragon's body surface was very smooth, with tiny pale gold scales growing over it. The pair of large, floppy ears it originally had also shrunk significantly. Those large, deep blue eyes were still big, but the color of the pupils had changed from deep blue to having flecks of gold. Of course, the biggest change had to be its physique. Its body, which was once as chubby as a piglet soul beast, had now become much slimmer. Coupled with the pale gold scales all over its body, it truly had the flavor of a dragon. Its originally short, thick limbs had lengthened slightly, and its extended claws, though small, glinted with a cold light. Besides that, a tiny, jade-like golden horn had sprouted a sharp tip on top of Little Dragon's head. Of course, none of these were the most important. Most importantly, a pair of dragon wings had actually grown on Little Dragon's back. They looked very similar to the wings of the crimson blood dragon. It could be said that if someone who had seen it before saw it now, they would absolutely show an expression of disbelief and ask, "Is this really the same spirit I saw before?" Looking at the drastically changed Little Dragon, a flash of astonishment crossed Yu Yuanzhen's heart. Ever since Yu Xiaogang's spirit awakening, Yu Yuanzhen never felt that his son's spirit was a pig. After all, it made no sense for him to be a dragon, and for Xiaogang's mother to be a dragon, only for Xiaogang to suddenly become a pig. Therefore, he had always strongly agreed with Yu Xiaogang, adding spirit rings from dragon-type spirit beasts to himself. He had a premonition before that only after adding a spirit ring from a dragon-type spirit beast would little dragon perhaps reveal its true form. Looking at it now, it was indeed so. Although little dragon's current appearance was still that of a hatchling, it was enough to prove that its essence was a dragon, not a pig. Furthermore, when little dragon appeared just now, that was light, wasn't it? Yu Yuanzhen recalled the way little dragon appeared, the light emerging, and then little dragon manifesting. So little dragon's essence is dragon, and its attribute is light. It's a good thing Xiaogang chose the attributeless crimson blood dragon when selecting the spirit beast for his first soul ring. Looking at it this way, Xiaogang really had foresight. Thinking of this, pride welled up in Yu Yuanzhen's heart again. With the brilliance Yu Xiaogang was currently displaying, in the future, he would not only achieve extraordinary success as a spirit master, but he would likely also achieve results in theoretical research. An individual becoming a powerhouse can bring stability and the capital to stand firm to a faction. And excellence in theoretical research can allow many members within the faction to have good development as well. Looking at it this way, with Yu Xiaogang, the future of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect is truly limitless. Won't this make those fellows die of envy? Thinking of the old rivals and friends he knew, Yu Yuanzhen had a face full of anticipation. He could already not help but want to show off his son to those people. While Yu Yuanzhen was thinking in his mind about how to act cool in the future, Zhaowu, a crisp dragon roar with a hint of milkiness, came from little dragon's mouth. Following that dragon roar, little dragon, with its bright, large eyes wide open, rushed into Yu Xiaogang's embrace. Yu Xiaogang watched the charging little dragon and opened his arms to catch it. The moment he touched little dragon, a smooth and cool sensation was transmitted. Though it was cool, it wasn't irritating at all. It was very gentle, making Yu Xiaogang addicted with just one touch. Little dragon, thank you so much for before. If it weren't for your help, I really might not have been able to absorb this 1,000-year first soul ring. Yu Xiaogang thanked little dragon with a smile. Little dragon helped, what do you mean? Yu Yuanzhen, who was nearby, immediately pulled his thoughts back from his fantasies upon hearing Yu Xiaogang's words. Little dragon also helped during the absorption of the spirit ring. How come he didn't know? During the process of absorbing the spirit ring, I felt the pressure and pain brought by the spirit ring suddenly lessen a lot. At that time, I followed the feeling to search, and finally saw in my consciousness that little dragon was actually bearing the pain of absorbing the spirit ring along with me. Speaking to this point, Yu Xiaogang reached out and touched the sharp little horn on little dragon's head. As for Yu Yuanzhen, he sucked in a breath of cold air because of this information. Little dragon helped you absorb the spirit ring together. Xiaogang, are you sure this wasn't a hallucination? Chapter 60 Zhao Wuji, what a waste of such a great spirit. Xiaolong helps you absorb the spirit ring. Xiaogang, are you sure this isn't your hallucination? Yu Yuanzhen looked at Xiaolong in shock, then at Yu Xiaogang, confirming if this was true. Because if it were true, the implications would be completely different. When an ordinary spirit master absorbs a spirit ring, the spirit master themselves bears the pressure. If they can bear it, they absorb it. If they can't, they die. But if Xiaolong could really help Yu Xiaogang share part of the pressure from absorbing a spirit ring, it meant that in the future, Yu Xiaogang would have an innate advantage over other spirit masters when absorbing spirit rings. Even if Xiaolong could only help Yu Xiaogang share 1/10 of the pressure, it could increase the age of Yu Xiaogang's spirit ring by 1/10. The significance of this for Yu Xiaogang personally was almost comparable to discovering something that could be used in conjunction with whale gristle. I'm certain, father, Yu Xiaogang said with a serious face. Xiaolong really helped alleviate the pressure when I was absorbing the spirit ring. Without it, even if I could have absorbed that 1,000-year spirit ring, the damage I suffered would definitely be far greater than it is now. Hearing Yu Xiaogang's words, Yu Yuanzhen fell silent. When he looked at Xiao Long again, his gaze had become incredibly burning. Being able to help a spirit master share part of the pressure of absorbing a spirit ring, such a spirit could no longer be described as just a top-tier spirit. Even with the angel martial soul of the Spirit Hall's Qian family, Yu Yuanzhen doubted they had such an ability. Black World Shrek Academy. My god, a separate beast spirit actually has such a heaven-defying effect. Zhao Wuji and Flender exclaimed almost in unison. Especially Zhao Wuji, his shock and envy at this moment were truly beyond words. When he watched the heavenly curtain before, he actually used to despise Yu Xiaogang's spirit. In his view, a separate beast spirit lacked the ability of martial soul possession, which directly discarded the greatest advantage of beast spirit masters, the physical boost. Without the physical boost brought by beast martial soul possession, as long as the target of attack was placed on the person themselves during battle, victory could be easily achieved. Zhao Wuji even felt that a tool spirit was better than a separate beast spirit. After all, once a tool spirit is summoned, it is a weapon. During battle, the weapon is always held in hand, and there's no need to worry about any damage to the spirit when colliding with an opponent. But what about Yu Xiaogang's separate beast spirit? It can't be held in hand and fights separately from the person. During battle, one must also look after it to prevent it from getting injured. After all that, Zhao Wuji felt that ordinary spirits were still the best. But as the separate beast spirit could actually help a spirit master share the pressure of absorbing spirit rings, things suddenly became different. Just like Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain, relying on Xiao Long's sharing, he successfully achieved the accomplishment of a 1,000-year first soul ring. If he, Zhao Wuji, also possessed a separate beast spirit, although he didn't know about whale gristle, the limit of his first soul ring would probably have also broken the existing record. The second soul ring would also break through, the third soul ring would break through again. Breaking through all the way like this, even if all his current spirit ring years were only increased by 1/10, he would be directly invincible among spirit masters of the same level. Even challenging across ranks wouldn't be impossible. As for the flaws of the separate beast spirit mentioned earlier, he could simply crush them with sheer stats. The more he thought about it, the more envious Zhao Wuji became. He looked at Yu Xiaogang not far away, his disdain almost unconcealed. What a waste of such a good spirit, to be played like that. Trash! Zhao Wuji cursed under his breath, in a voice that wouldn't reach Yu Xiaogang. But Flender, who was beside him, heard it clearly. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something for his good brother, but in the end, he couldn't say it no matter what. Because if he weren't Yu Xiaogang's good brother at this moment, his evaluation would be the same as Zhao Wuji's. Leaving such a good separate beast spirit aside, he actually made it so that he couldn't break through rank 30. His own strength couldn't improve for a lifetime, and he even dragged his spirit down to be defined by people as a trash martial soul. Fortunately, there was the heavenly curtain broadcast. Otherwise, Liu Sanpao would really have been treated by everyone as a pig martial soul that only knows how to fart. Oh my, some people, clearly possessing a massive opportunity, yet they managed to ruin it themselves. Say, wouldn't it have been great if you had listened to that soul-hunting squad leader back then, and absorbed that thunder-fanged pig of over 400 years? Even if you couldn't handle it yourself, your spirit would have helped you. But as a result, you chose a spirit ring of less than 300 years, not even reaching the limit of what you yourself could bear, so naturally, you couldn't discover the heaven-defying nature of the separate beast spirit. Tusk. Luckily the heavenly curtain appeared, otherwise, Liu Sanpao would really have been dragged down by you for a lifetime. Ning Rongrong let out a little devil-like laugh. Her words were almost merciless, but among the people present, even Tang San, no one stood up to speak for him at this moment. In such a comparison, Yu Xiaogang had completely held Liu Sanpao back. Having such a heaven-defying talent, yet ending up in a situation where it could only fart. Empathizing with Liu Sanpao, anger involuntarily rose in everyone's hearts. If they were Liu Sanpao, they would have bitten this trash Yu Xiaogang to death long ago. Mocked by Ning Rongrong, Yu Xiaogang stared blankly at Xiao Long's appearance in the heavenly curtain. Come out, Liu Sanpao. He summoned Liu Sanpao and compared it with Zyro Long in the heavenly curtain. Yu Xiaogang completely broke down. Slap! A crisp sound of a slap echoed around. Everyone looked at Yu Xiaogang, only to see a red handprint now stamped on his cheek. To be able to leave a mark with just one slap, one could see what Yu Xiaogang's current mood was like. If he could, Yu Xiaogang really wanted to go back decades, back to when his spirit power had just reached rank 10, and then strangle his past self to death. If not for him, how could he have fallen to such a state? And his father, didn't he always say back then that he wanted to add a dragon-type spirit beast to his first soul ring? Why couldn't he be a bit more forceful? Why didn't he stop him in the end? He clearly had the strength of a titled Douluo, and he hadn't even obtained his first soul ring at that time. If his father had used some forceful means back then, could he have still left home alone to obtain his first soul ring? And Liu Sanpao, you have such talent, why didn't you show it earlier? Whether it's being able to cultivate like a spirit master, or being able to help a spirit master share the pressure of absorbing a spirit ring. If you had shown these talents earlier, could I have still gone astray? It's all because of you all. If not for you, the one to become the Dragon God Douluo should have been me. Chapter 61, Yi Hengchuan, How Many? No one could know the resentment in Yu Xiaogang's heart. Even if others did, they would likely be astonished that he could still shift the responsibility onto someone else in such a situation. It was truly quite miraculous. The video continues. After playing with the little dragon in the carriage for a while longer, Yu Xiaogang withdrew the little dragon without attempting to use the spirit ability he had obtained. Although he was very curious about his spirit ability, Yu Xiaogang's body had not yet fully recovered. These attempts would have to wait until he returned to the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect and fully healed. Regardless, the spirit ring was already on him. It was there and wasn't going anywhere. Seeing that Yu Xiaogang had no intention of testing his spirit ability, Yu Yuanzhen nodded in satisfaction. With his current physical state, summoning his spirit was already the limit. Yu Yuanzhen would not allow him to make any other attempts. And so, lying in the carriage, Yu Xiaogang thoroughly enjoyed a period of being weighted on hand and foot. Furthermore, the person feeding him every day was none other than Yu Yuanzhen, a titled Douluo. These days were almost unthinkably pleasant. However, such days did not last long. Soon, the father and son returned to Blue Lightning City. Upon entering Blue Lightning City, the two first arrived at the Thunder Dragon Hall. Before Yu Xiaogang set out to obtain his first soul ring, Yi Hengchuan had volunteered, wanting to help Yu Xiaogang obtain it. Unfortunately, once he learned that Yu Yuanzhen intended to go personally, he dropped the matter. Even so, Yi Hengchuan had urged Yu Yuanzhen and Yu Xiaogang to stop by his place upon their return to tell him about the situation with Yu Xiaogang's first soul ring. In Yi Hengchuan's eyes, Yu Xiaogang was a clever, meticulous, observant child with a very strong determination to become powerful. With Yu Xiaogang's determination, he would absolutely not attach just any spirit ring to himself. The spirit beast he chose would surely be very strong, and the age of the spirit ring would certainly be at the absolute limit of what he could endure. Thus, Yi Hengchuan wanted to learn through Yu Xiaogang exactly what the limit for a first soul ring was after consuming 10,000-year whale glue. Yi Hengchuan also had his own descendants. He wanted to use Yu Xiaogang's situation as a reference to set a standard for them. Entering the Thunder Dragon Hall, Yu Yuanzhen immediately spotted Yi Hengchuan dozing behind the counter. Sighing, Yu Yuanzhen wore a helpless expression as he silently approached Yi Hengchuan and slapped him hard on the shoulder. Time to wake up. The sudden strike made Yi Hengchuan's hair stand on end. As a spirit saint, although he was dozing, he still possessed a basic awareness of his surroundings. Yet he had not sensed this strike at all beforehand, which filled him with alarm. However, that alarm quickly dissipated as Yi Hengchuan heard Yu Yuanzhen's voice and breathed a sigh of relief. "Oh, it's you, big brother, you scared the life out of me." Getting up, Yi Hengchuan gave Yu Yuanzhen an annoyed glance before looking behind him. "Where's Xiaogang?" "He's in the carriage outside. He suffered some injuries and it's not convenient for him to come down. I came here specifically to ask you for some good medicine to nourish him. Yu Yuanzhen calmly picked up the teacup Yi Hengchuan had left on the table and took a sip without any hint of distaste. Xiaogang is injured. What happened? Yi Hengchuan was startled by the news. Yu Xiaogang had gone to obtain a spirit ring with Yu Yuanzhen. Logically, he shouldn't have been injured. That boy tried for a spirit ring with a relatively high age when he was absorbing it. He almost couldn't handle it, so he got hurt. Yu Yuanzhen ignored the surprise on Yi Hengchuan's face, his expression remaining as calm as water. However, if one looked closely, they could see that Yu Yuanzhen was currently trying his best to suppress the corners of his mouth from curling upward. Tried a spirit ring with a relatively high age. Yi Hengchuan scratched his head, unable to quite figure it out. Based on his understanding of Yu Xiaogang, the boy would definitely want the highest age possible when obtaining a spirit ring. But with Yu Xiaogang's intelligence, he should have been able to figure out exactly where his limit lay. Under these circumstances, he was injured so badly he could only lie in the carriage and couldn't even come down to meet him. Especially since they were already back in Blue Lightning City, just how severe was this injury? It must be because the age of the suitable spirit beast exceeded the limit by a bit. That child Xiaogang has a very strong determination to become powerful. He has always wanted to help you, big brother, wash away the humiliation of these past years. I noticed it back when he researched the whale jelly. Xiaogang has a drive that doesn't belong to someone his age. As long as he has that drive, he will become a powerhouse sooner or later. I imagine by then, big brother, you'll be able to openly accept invitations from all the various powers. I still remember the Soul Master convention that year, when those old geezers mocked you and Xiaogang. Just wait and see. One day, Xiaogang will help you win back this face. Yi Hengchuan first looked at Yu Yuanzhen with concern, then spoke of Yu Xiaogang with an expression full of emotion. By the end, when mentioning the times Yu Yuanzhen had been mocked, the anger on Yi Hengchuan's face was plainly visible. During this, Yu Yuanzhen just listened quietly, nodding in agreement from time to time. That serious look was like a child learning about the knowledge of Douluo continent from a family member for the first time. At the end, when Yi Hengchuan mentioned the invitations from various powers, Yu Yuanzhen also timely showed an expression of expectation. Furthermore, when Yi Hengchuan finished speaking, Yu Yuanzhen even smacked his lips, looking like he hadn't heard enough. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. Xiaogang is indeed a clever and sensible child. I believe that with his intelligence and spiritual kai, even if he were born into an ordinary family, he would eventually become a powerhouse. Being my son has brought Xiaogang many conveniences, but it's true that my status has also put a lot of pressure on him. Yu Yuanzhen said. Sai, big brother, you're getting all sentimental. If any of the youngsters in my family could give me as much face as Xiaogang, I'd wake up laughing from my dreams. Hahaha, the young people in your family are also quite good, but regarding being a credit to one's parents, I won't deny it, Xiaogang has indeed made me proud. Hearing Yu Yuanzhen's words, Yi Hengchuan curled his lip and picked up his teacup, then suddenly remembered something. Right, after talking for so long, you still haven't told me. Exactly how many years was Xiaogang's first soul ring? He, not many years, just over 1,000. Yu Yuanzhen looked at Yi Hengchuan with a cheerful grin. Oh, just over 1,000 years, not bad, not bad. Yi Hengchuan nodded, then took a drink of the tea in his cup. The next second, once his brain processed the information, Yi Hengchuan spat out all the tea in his mouth, spraying it everywhere. After spitting it out, Yi Hengchuan didn't even have time to clean up. He turned his head, his eyes bugging out, and stared straight at the smiling Yu Yuanzhen. How many? Chapter 62, Yu Yuanzhen passionately brags about his son. How much? Yi Hengchuan's voice sounded somewhat cracked due to his urgency. But at this moment, no one cared about that. Yi Hengchuan's gaze was fixed tightly on Yu Yuanzhen, who had a smug smile on his face. His heart was filled with disbelief. If he hadn't misheard just now, Big Brother said that Xiaogang's spirit ring was just over 1,000 years old. Just over 1,000 years, is it the second soul ring? But Xiaogang was clearly only level 10. He only went out for a short while. How could he have directly reached level 20? In other words, it really is the first soul ring. 1,000-year first soul ring. At the thought of this, Yi Hengchuan's face became somewhat flushed. Big brother, are you sure you're not joking? Xiaogang's first soul ring is really a 1,000-year one. Yi Hengchuan repeatedly confirmed with Yu Yuanzhen, but Yu Yuanzhen could also understand Yi Hengchuan's disbelief. If it were himself, even after witnessing Yu Xiaogang successfully absorb a 1,000-year first soul ring with his own eyes, he couldn't help but pinch himself multiple times afterward to make sure it wasn't all a dream. I'm certain I watched Xiaogang absorb his first soul ring with my own eyes. It's precisely because he absorbed this 1,000-year first soul ring that he ended up injured like this. Hearing Yu Yuanzhen's words, Yi Hengchuan finally believed everything completely. He sat dazed on his chair for a long while, then glanced at Yu Yuanzhen's smug smile. Only then did Yi Hengchuan realize the reason why Yu Yuanzhen had rushed to the Thunder Dragon Hall without even stopping at home upon returning to the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. Fine, I was wondering before, even if I did say a few words before you and Xiaogang set off, telling you not to forget to let me know the results when you returned. Telling me the results is just a matter of a single sentence. There was no need for you to come in person, big brother. Not to mention Xiaogang is still injured. So it turns out you ran over here just to brag about your son, big brother. Yi Hengchuan gave Yu Yuanzhen an annoyed look. Ha ha ha, good brother, your big brother Yu has had countless friends over the years, but there are only a few I can truly call good brothers. You are one of them. If I don't tell you about such an interesting matter, who else can I tell? Yu Yuanzhen was finally able to laugh out loud. He had truly waited too long for this moment. From the moment Yu Xiaogang successfully absorbed the 1,000-year first soul ring and was confirmed to be unharmed, Yu Yuanzhen had been thinking in his mind about what kind of posture to use to tell others about this matter and leave them shocked. For a good brother like Yi Hengchuan, he had to use this kind of casual chatting method to mention it unintentionally. Look at that, wasn't the effect just now great? In fact, the moment Yi Hengchuan sprayed out his tea, Yu Yuanzhen already wanted to burst out laughing, but he held it back. As for ordinary friends, Yu Yuanzhen also had to prepare a set of rhetoric. For those old rivals and enemies who had mocked him in the past, Yu Yuanzhen had to think even harder about how to tell them. All right, big brother, stop laughing and tell me quickly what exactly happened. Seeing Yu Yuanzhen laughing incessantly, Yi Hengchuan couldn't help but interrupt him urgently. A 1,000-year first soul ring, this kind of thing could be said to have set a precedent for the Douluo continent. Such an experience, no matter which power on the Douluo continent it occurred in, would be stored as top-secret intelligence. If someone from Spirit Hall, the Clear Sky sect, or the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School had done this, Yi Hengchuan could only sigh and feel envious. Even if it were someone close to the elders of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect who did this, Yi Hengchuan wouldn't try to ask. But with Yu Xiaogang doing it, the meaning was completely different for him. As Yu Yuanzhen's good brother, Yu Xiaogang's uncle, and the person who once helped Yu Xiaogang complete the whale glue experiment, Yi Hengchuan could be considered Yu Yuanzhen's die-hard confidant. Sometimes even biological brothers weren't as close as his relationship with Yu Yuanzhen's family. Therefore, Yi Hengchuan could ask about the details without hesitation. Being able to accomplish this was mainly because Xiaogang himself is promising. Yu Yuanzhen didn't act coy, and began to recount what happened after they left the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, from meeting members of Spirit Hall in the Stardew Great Forest to encountering the Crimson Blood Dragon later on. Especially after encountering the Crimson Blood Dragon, Yu Yuanzhen's narration became even more detailed. At that time there were 2 Crimson Blood Dragons, one was 700 years old, and the other was just over 1,000 years old. I was originally thinking of continuing to look for other spirit beasts in the Stardew Great Forest, but at that moment, Xiaogang stood up, pointed at that 1,000-year Crimson Blood Dragon, and said he wanted that one. Hearing this, Yi Hengchuan felt as nervous as if he were there himself. Big brother, you didn't stop him. That was a 1,000-year spirit beast. Of course I tried to stop him, but Xiaogang said that on the path of a spirit master, one must take risks to achieve a breakthrough. What kind of spirit master are you if you don't take risks? Besides that, he also remembered all the mockery and ridicule from others in the sect over the years, directed at him and at me, his father. He wanted to win some honor for himself and for me, his father. For that, he was willing to die there. Yu Yuanzhen got more and more excited as he spoke. By the end, he even embellished the process to a certain extent. And yet Yi Hengchuan, who was beside him, nodded repeatedly as he listened. That's right, that is indeed something Xiaogang would do. Maz expected of your son, big brother, to have such determination at such a young age. Not bad at all. Xiaogang is a real man. In Yi Hengchuan's heart, the Yu Xiaogang described by Yu Yuanzhen was exactly the Yu Xiaogang he imagined, so he believed whatever Yu Yuanzhen said. Hearing about Yu Xiaogang absorbing the spirit ring later and being covered in blood, Yi Hengchuan's eyes couldn't help but turn red. Finally, hearing that Yu Xiaogang had succeeded, he let out a long breath. Hugh, I didn't expect such a major event to happen to Xiaogang in just these few days. Big brother, you said earlier you wanted me to get a batch of nourishing medicinal herbs for Xiaogang. Leave this matter to me. I'll definitely get the best ones for Xiaogang, and they'll all be for nourishing Kai and blood. Yi Hengchuan patted his chest repeatedly as he guaranteed. Ha ha ha, how could I not trust you? Yu Yuanzhen patted Yi Hengchuan's shoulder and said with a face full of trust. But just then, Yi Hengchuan's eyes darted around. Say, big brother, Xiaogang isn't that young anymore. Should we start thinking about his future matters? I think my daughter is quite suitable. Yi Hengchuan revealed a you-know-what-I-mean expression. Through Yu Yuanzhen's narration, he understood all too well how limitless Yu Xiaogang's future achievements would be. For a favored child of heaven like this, if you don't make a move now, you won't have a chance in the future. Hearing Yi Hengchuan's words, it was Yu Yuanzhen's turn to spray out the tea he had just sipped. Good grief, if I remember correctly, your daughter is only 3 years old this year, right? So what, Xiaogang isn't even 10 yet, it's close enough. This kind of relationship is better nurtured from a young age, let's consider it settled. Yi Hengchuan waved his hand, directly leaving Yu Yuanzhen no chance to refuse. Looking at Yi Hengchuan's appearance, Yu Yuanzhen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Good son, don't blame your father. With your talent, you are destined to go through this. Chapter 63, Returning to the Sect and a Disappointing Voice. Black World 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. This Yi Hengchuan certainly knows how to use his position to his advantage. The Yu Xiaogang of the parallel world has visible infinite potential. In the future, Yu Xiaogang will surely be sought after by countless people. Descendants of titled Douluos, imperial princesses, and the like, he'll have his pick. By then, with Yi Hengchuan's status, his descendants won't even be qualified to compete with those people. It's just a pity he's not from our world. Enning Fengzhai smacked his lips and said with an envious look. What, if he were from our world, Fengzhai, would you actually have the sect disciples throw themselves at him? Bone Douluo said with a teasing tone. Just having sect disciples throw themselves at him wouldn't be enough. No matter what, I'd have to send Rongrong over, even if she didn't get an official status. Enning Fengzhai said with a calm expression upon hearing this. Upon hearing those words, Bone Douluo and Sword Douluo's eyes widened instantly. Send Rongrong over, and even without an official status, Fengzhai, what kind of crazy talk is this? Sword Douluo frowned. At this moment, he even wanted to reach out and feel Ning Fengzhai's head to see if he had a fever. Hee, Uncle Bone, Uncle Sword, you two always dote on Rongrong so much, but we might not be able to accompany her forever. In the end, her future still depends on herself. Enning Fengzhai shook his head, feeling a headache again from how much the two Douluos doted on his daughter. Although he also loved his daughter, in his heart, no matter how important she was far behind the sect. That Dragon God Douluo Yu Xiaogang has a boundless future. If she could hold a place in his heart, even without an official status, it would be enough to ensure Rongrong lives comfortably in the future. And once Rongrong could have his offspring, no matter what spirit they awaken, it would be a good thing for both the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School and Rongrong. Based on my observation of that Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain, he is definitely the type to be very responsible. Establishing a connection with someone like him is more useful than recruiting a large group of spirit saints and spirit Douluos. As Ning Fengzhai's voice fell, Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo glanced at each other. It had to be said that Ning Fengzhai's judgment of Yu Xiaogang was similar to theirs. If it really went as Ning Fengzhai said, perhaps this truly would be a good thing. What a pity, our world has the Grandmaster Yu Xiaogang, not the Dragon God Douluo Yu Xiaogang. Sword Douluo finally said. Yes, it really is a pity. Ning Fengzhai echoed. The video continues. After showing off grandly in front of Yi Hengchuan, Yu Yuanzhen left contentedly, preparing to return to the sect. At this moment, Yi Hengchuan chased after him, wanting to return with Yu Yuanzhen. A major event like Xiaogang obtaining a 1,000-year first soul ring, no matter what, I have to pay close attention to it. For example, what his first spirit skill is, and how strong it is. Besides that, saying this, Yi Hengchuan wore an expression similar to the one Yu Yuanzhen had when he was showing off earlier. Big brother, you showed off in front of me. Next, when you return to the sect, you'll surely use the same method to shock the sect elders, right? Hearing Yi Hengchuan's words, Yu Yuanzhen pointed at him, the smile on his face unstoppable. As expected of my good brother, you really know me. Of course, we traveled the continent together back then, how could I not know you? Yi Hengchuan's eyes sparkled, and the corners of his mouth curled up, revealing an expectant expression. Since I know you're going to show off in front of the elders, big brother, I simply must go and watch. I can't just let you watch me be shocked, big brother, I have to see how shocked others will be too. Hearing Yi Hengchuan's words, Yu Yuanzhen immediately patted the carriage. Then let's go. Coming. With that, Yi Hengchuan boarded the carriage, about to return to the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect with Yu Yuanzhen. During this time, Yi Hengchuan specifically entered the carriage to greet Yu Xiaogang, who was lying under the blankets. Yo Xiaogang, you've done a great job, you've really made your father proud. Yi Hengchuan gave Yu Xiaogang a thumbs up. Thank you, but Uncle Yi, you deserve some of the credit too. Yu Xiaogang scratched the back of his head and said with a grin. Ha ha ha, good boy, Uncle Yi didn't help you for nothing, if you want to test anything. Else next time, feel free to come to me. Even if your old man doesn't allow it, I'll take you to do it. Yi Hengchuan patted his chest and promised. Hey, I'm right here. Yu Yuanzhen's voice carried a hint of dissatisfaction. And so, the group returned to the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, talking and laughing along the way. Meanwhile, several elders who had received the news early set aside their tasks and hurried toward Yu Yuanzhen's residence. They weren't necessarily curious about Yu Xiaogang's situation. Rather, because Yu Yuanzhen had been away for so many days, a lot of family matters had piled up, and they were coming to discuss these things with him. Of course, they would also inquire about Yu Xiaogang's situation along the way. I wonder how many years that kid's first soul ring is. I hope the age isn't too low, or all those resources will have been wasted. At the third elder's residence, the third elder spoke while leaving his room. HMPH, with Yu Xiaogang's aptitude, how many years could his spirit ring possibly be? He just got lucky and discovered the secret of whale glue. Otherwise, how could a loser like him expect to enjoy the treatment of a spirit Douluo? Following behind the third elder, his son Yu Qingya snorted and said. If anyone were to observe his eyes at this moment, they would see that Yu Qingya's eyes were filled with jealousy toward Yu Xiaogang. As a highly talented spirit emperor, he only enjoyed the treatment of a spirit saint level in the sect. Why should a loser enjoy spirit Douluo level treatment when even he doesn't have it? Shut up, even if it was luck, he still made a contribution to the sect. For a contribution of this level, it's only right for the sect to reward him. Otherwise, how will the sect maintain its standing in the future? The third elder rebuked Yu Qingya a few times, and then led him to the sect master's residence. Before long, several elders gathered in front of the sect master's home, and soon, a carriage slowly approached. On the driver's seat were Yu Yuanzhen and Yi Hengchuan, talking and laughing. The moment he saw the elders, Yu Yuanzhen's eyes lit up. Greetings, elders. Coming closer, Yu Yuanzhen greeted the elders. His beaming face made the elders realize that Yu Xiaogang's soul hunting trip had likely gone very well. We are well, Sect Master, you've been out for quite a while. It seems you've had a good harvest. It was barely passable. Yu Yuanzhen wanted to imitate the method he used with Yi Hengquan, revealing the truth in a casual manner. Barely passable. The elders' faces twitched. If it were only passable, would you be this happy? However, the elders didn't spoil Yu Yuanzhen's fun and asked about Yu Xiaogang's situation. Xiaogang was injured while absorbing the spirit ring, and his injuries haven't healed yet. Yu Yuanzhen said. Meanwhile, on the other side, Yi Hengquan took Yu Xiaogang on his back and carried him out of the carriage. Just as the elders were about to ask for details, suddenly, a discordant voice rang out. To get so heavily injured just from absorbing a spirit ring, he really is a loser. Hearing this, Yu Yuanzhen's originally high-spirited face instantly darkened. Chapter 64, Yu Yuanzhen's Full Confidence. In front of the gates of Yu Yuanzhen's residence, a heavy silence hung in the air. Yu Yuanzhen's face was dark, his fists clenched tightly. Beside him, Yi Hengquan's face also shifted from expectation to fury because of that sudden voice. Yu Xiaogang himself, however, had no reaction to the sudden voice. In the past, when they spoke of him like this, Yu Xiaogang had no way to refute them. But from now on, Yu Xiaogang wouldn't need to say a word in rebuttal. Because no amount of rhetoric could compare to the display of his 1,000-year first soul ring. No matter what anyone said, once they opened their mouths, you could simply let them see how your spirit ring configuration compared to theirs. Calling me trash? That's interesting. If you can't even compare to trash, then what does that make you? A cold sneer played at the corners of Yu Xiaogang's mouth as he looked toward the source of the voice. So it's him. Seeing the speaker, Yu Xiaogang had a moment of realization. Back when he had completed his whale glue experiments and rushed home excitedly to tell his father the results, this same fellow had been standing at his front door. He had said something like, "A piece of trash who shames the family, how do you have the nerve to go running around everywhere?" At that time, his high and mighty attitude had made Yu Xiaogang particularly loathe him. He hadn't expected him to pop up again today. For a moment, the thought of watching a good show arose in Yu Xiaogang's mind. After all, he wasn't the only one who had been holding back a grudge. His father, Yu Yuanzhen, had been as well. On the Douluo continent, strength is respected. Even though Yu Xiaogang had discovered whale glue before, as long as his strength didn't improve, he would still be looked down upon by many. But with the acquisition of his first soul ring, everything had changed. At this moment, Yu Yuanzhen could finally hold his head high and vent his frustrations, no longer unable to find words to strike back as before. Sure enough, in the next second, Yu Yuanzhen spoke. "Who said that?" A cold yet seemingly calm voice rang out in the silence. Those who knew Yu Yuanzhen's temper understood that this calm was merely the silence before a volcanic eruption. The third elder frowned, glared fiercely at his son, and then stepped forward. "Ha ha ha, why is everyone standing around so stiffly? Sect Master, you've been away for many days, and a mountain of sect matters is waiting for your decision. Rest quickly and then discuss them with us." The third elder tried to smooth things over, attempting to change the subject. As he spoke, he glanced toward the Grand Elder and the Second Elder. The two of them caught his gaze, sighed, and also stepped forward, wanting to move past the current unpleasantness. According to their understanding of Yu Yuanzhen, anger and fury were inevitable, but as long as they gave him a way out, he would take it. But this time, the elders had miscalculated. "Those matters can wait, I am asking right now, who said those words just now?" Yu Yuanzhen's voice remained bone-chillingly cold. Hearing this, the Grand Elder and Second Elder looked at each other, both seeing the bewilderment in the other's eyes. Is he planning to pursue this to the bitter end? But pursuing it like this isn't worth it. Yu Qingye, as the son of the Third Elder, was already at level 68, and was considered someone the sect valued highly. With his cultivation progress, it wouldn't be more than a few years before he advanced to Spirit Saint. In the future, there was a high probability he would become a Spirit Douluo. Thus, the current Yu Qingya was no longer just a genius of the sect, but one of its powerhouses. If Yu Yuanjun came into conflict with a sect powerhouse today because of his son Yu Xiaogang, gossip would surely spread through the sect tomorrow. Things like the sect master not even allowing the truth to be spoken. If he clashes with a sect powerhouse for the sake of a low-talent son, can such a sect still prosper? The Grand Elder and Second Elder could imagine that if today's matter blew up, Yu Yuanjun's reputation would definitely take another hit in the future. All right, sect master, calm down. He accidentally misspoke. I'll have him apologize to you later. The Grand Elder came to Yu Yuanjun's side to mediate again, and after speaking, he whispered in Yu Yuanjun's ear. That's enough, we know you care about your son, but coming into conflict with someone over a single sentence isn't good for you, and it's even worse for Xiaogang. The meaning in the Grand Elder's words was clear. Continuing this would only make things harder for Yu Xiaogang within the sect. As the son of a titled Douluo, having poor talent meant he already had to endure everyone's gossip. Now that he's finally achieved something, if you start trouble here, aren't you just inviting more problems for your son? The Grand Elder's words could be said to be very considerate of the face of both Yu Yuanjun and Yu Xiaogang. Unfortunately, Yu Yuanjun was full of confidence today. In the past, when people in the family gossiped about Yu Xiaogang, he had endured it based on the Grand Elder's logic, not wanting to make life harder for Yu Xiaogang in the sect. But now, his son had already changed his fate in a heaven-defying way. Especially since, to achieve this, Yu Xiaogang had directly put his life on the line. He had risked his life to wash away the humiliation from both father and son. Since his son had gone to such lengths, if he, as the father, was still timid and hesitant, he wouldn't be fit to be Yu Xiaogang's father. Moreover, during that day and night, he spent guarding Yu Xiaogang while he absorbed the spirit ring. Yu Yuanjun had made a vow. As long as Yu Xiaogang succeeded from then on, he would never allow anyone to mock them again. Now was the perfect time to use this to establish his authority. Raising his hand to brush away the Grand Elder's hand from his arm, Yu Yuanjun's face showed an unwavering determination. I'm putting it plainly. I am going to pursue this matter to the end today, and it doesn't matter who tries to intervene. It's the same question, whoever said it, step forward. Yu Yuanjun asked for the third time, and everyone finally understood that today, Yu Yuanjun did not intend to let the speaker off. And so, everyone's gaze turned toward Yu Qingya. Everyone, including Yu Yuanjun, knew who the speaker was, but Yu Yuanjun wanted Yu Qingya to step forward himself. To Yu Qingya, this was no different from a public trial. A trial for him, the one who spoke ill of others behind their backs. Gritting his teeth, Yu Qingya finally stepped out. I said it, is what I said even wrong? Yu Qingya didn't dare look directly into Yu Yuanjun's dark gaze, so he fixed his eyes on Yu Xiaogang instead. Look at him, injured like this just from absorbing one spirit ring. Does someone like him even deserve to enjoy the sect's resources? He just got lucky and found something good, that's all. The family's resources should be used by the right people. Giving so many resources to a piece of trash like him is a waste. AAHH. I'll give you trash. With a thunderous roar, Yu Yuanjun suddenly lunged forward, kicking Yu Qingya in the back and sending him flying. Everyone watched the suddenly explosive Yu Yuanjun in stunned silence, unable to regain their senses for a long time. Chapter 65, the scene of Yu Yuanjun slapping someone reappears. Yu Yuanjun's sudden eruption caught everyone, including Yu Xiaogang, completely off guard. They never expected that Yu Yuanjun, who had never retorted on this matter before, would take action directly without even saying a few words this time. With a kick that sent Yu Qingya flying, Yu Yuanjun snorted coldly, withdrew his foot, and looked at the stunned crowd. The next second, Yu Qingya, disheveled and in a sorry state from being kicked, returned to stand before Yu Yuanjun. Sect Master, you actually took action against me for the sake of a piece of trash. I am an expert of the family, the future pillar of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. Yu Qingya looked at Yu Yuanjun with a ferocious expression, seemingly having completely forgotten that the person standing before him, aside from being the sect master, was also a top-tier expert standing at the peak of the Douluo continent, a titled Douluo. Qingye, shut up. Upon hearing Yu Qingye's questioning, the third elder immediately snapped out of his daze. He hurried to Yu Qingye's side, intending to press his head down and apologize to Yu Yuanzhen. Although Yu Yuanzhen had always been very easy to talk to for the members of the sect, that was only when you hadn't provoked him. If you really provoked him, he wouldn't care who you were. However, Yu Qingye resisted the third elder's actions, staring straight at Yu Yuanzhen with an expression that showed absolutely no intention of apologizing. In Yu Qingye's view, he was a former genius of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect and a current expert. At only 47 years old, he was already a level 68 Spirit Emperor. In the future, he would become a Spirit Saint, a Spirit Douluo, and if possible, he would even strive to become a titled Douluo. Such a person as himself was the figure the sect should value the most. The sect elders should treat him with kindness, and the sect master should respect, even revere him. He had only spoken the truth, yet the sect master had actually attacked him. This was a lack of respect for the experts of the sect. For a sect to stand long at the peak of the Douluo continent, it always relied on the top experts within the sect. No matter how intelligent Yu Xiaogang was, he would be nothing more than an ant in the future. When the weak face the strong, they must maintain respect and adopt the proper attitude. Therefore, no matter how excessive his words were today, Yu Xiaogang had to endure them. And for Yu Yuanzhen to attack an expert like him, for the sake of a piece of trash like Yu Xiaogang, his actions were undoubtedly wrong. Therefore, it should be Yu Yuanzhen who apologizes. Yu Qingye stared directly at Yu Yuanzhen, with not a shred of intention to back down in his eyes. Seeing Yu Qingye's appearance, the third elder as his father immediately understood his son's thoughts. At this moment, the third elder felt some regret for having spoiled this child too much in the past. He had shielded him from the wind and rain before he grew up, making his life extremely smooth. Although this allowed Yu Qingye to successfully grow up, it also fostered the arrogant and conceited personality he had now. Sect Master, this son of mine. The third elder wanted to plead for him to Yu Yuanzhen, but he was stopped by Yu Yuanzhen's raised hand. Yu Yuanzhen narrowed his eyes, staring at the guy in front of him who was sticking his neck out and staring right back at him. Although he didn't know much about Yu Qingye, he knew that this was a child who had been spoiled by the third elder for many years. To let him grow up safely, the third elder had put in a great deal of effort. His selfish nature was cultivated because of Yu Qingye. He wanted to get a share of every good thing for his son. As a father himself, Yu Yuanzhen understood the third elder. But precisely because he was also a father, he could not tolerate Yu Qingye provoking him today. Looking at you, you are very unconvinced, right? Yu Yuanzhen took a deep breath, his voice as calm as water. That's right, I am unconvinced. Yu Qingye nodded in admission, without the slightest thought of fear. I am a former genius of the sect and a current expert. Even I only receive Spirit Saint level treatment. Why does a piece of trash like him get to enjoy Spirit Douluo level treatment? Hearing this, Yu Xiaogang, who was on Yi Hengquan's back, finally understood that it was all because of jealousy. He was jealous that he, with only innate level 1 soul power, was enjoying Spirit Douluo level treatment that even he didn't have, so he kept mocking him. Xiaogang's ability to enjoy such treatment was a unanimous decision by the sect's higher-ups. I, the Grand Elder, the Second Elder, including your father, the Third Elder, all agreed to it. Are you saying these things now because you think we, the high-ranking members of the sect, are being unfair? Yu Yuanzhen asked. He just got lucky. With his talent, receiving Spirit King level treatment is already enough. Anything more is just a waste. With the sect's resources distributed like this, how can it convince the masses? Yu Qingye glanced disdainfully at Yu Xiaogang on Yi Hengquan's back. Yu Xiaogang discovered the secret of the whale glue, and he did indeed believe that the other party should be rewarded. But when he learned that the other party's reward was the Spirit Douluo level treatment that he had applied for many times without success, Yu Qingye had been harboring dissatisfaction in his heart. Why couldn't his application go through, yet the other party could just have it? Wasn't he, an expert, more useful to the sect than a piece of trash? Fine, fine, fine. It seems I must do something today to make you truly convinced. Yu Yuanzhen laughed in extreme anger. Got lucky, my son's hard work has turned into getting lucky in your eyes. And a waste. If you can make the same contribution one day, we are willing to let you waste it too. But you haven't. Yu Yuanzhen sneered and rolled up his sleeves. Seeing this, the third elder wanted to step forward. Just then, the second elder came to his side and stopped his movement. If you want the sect master to beat you along with him, then go ahead. This son of yours really needs to be taught a lesson. The second elder's action made the third elder stop in his tracks. And so, the next second, bang! Yu Yuanzhen lunged forward, and a fist imbued with spirit power slammed fiercely into Yu Qingya's face. And it didn't end there. The moment Yu Qingya flew out, Yu Yuanzhen flashed and followed, sitting directly on top of Yu Qingya. I'll show you, trash. Slap. A slap landed on Yu Qingya's face, dazing him completely. I'll show you, lucky. Slap. Another slap. Yu Qingya reacted and tried to struggle, but unfortunately with his level of strength, he couldn't break free from Yu Yuanzhen at all. I'll show you, unconvinced. Slap, 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 slap. One slap after another, Yu Yuanzhen had no regard for Yu Qingya's face, slapping him until it rang out loudly. Yu Qingya, being slapped, roared and struggled at first, but soon he was slapped by Yu Yuanzhen until he didn't even have the strength to struggle. Xiaogang, watching his father slap someone, couldn't help but cover his mouth and chuckle. If the atmosphere weren't so inappropriate, he would have wanted to take out some snacks and melon seeds to eat while watching. This scene was satisfying. Chapter 66, Future Yu Qingya, well slapped, sect master. The scene of Yu Yuanzhen violently beating Yu Qingya lasted for a long time. Everyone watched the scene of Yu Yuanzhen flying into a rage. Not a single person stepped forward to stop him. Even Yu Qingya's father, the third elder, initially wanted to step forward to intervene. However, upon realizing that Yu Yuanzhen didn't truly intend to take Yu Qingya's life and was merely planning to give him a severe lesson, the third elder ultimately held himself back. He had already spoiled this son of his, which was evident from the fact that he dared to be so insolent toward Yu Yuanzhen today. Yu Yuanzhen is the sect master of their sect. He would show mercy because he sees you as a future powerhouse of the sect, only teaching you a lesson. But if it were any other titled Douluo, given Yu Qingya's actions today, having his entire cultivation crippled would be considered a light punishment. Generally speaking, anyone who dares to act so arrogantly in front of a titled Douluo is bound to lose their life. So it was good for him to learn a lesson. Since even the father, the third elder, didn't stop it, no one else would stand up. A long time later, as Yu Yuanzhen finished landing another slap, Yu Qingya's originally handsome face had been beaten into a pig's head. The red and swollen face directly distorted his features. Yu Yuanzhen almost couldn't even find where Yu Qingya's eyes were at that moment. Hugh, that feels much better. Getting up from Yu Qingya's body, Yu Yuanzhen let out a breath with a look of satisfaction. Glancing at the third elder, Yu Yuanzhen waved his hand at him, letting him go take care of his son. I'm sorry, sect master. I will bring Qingya to apologize to you later. The third elder said with a voice full of apology as he passed by Yu Yuanzhen. No need. I imagine your son will harbor a grudge against me for a very long time. However, before long, he will understand the reason why I beat him today. Yu Yuanzhen rejected the third elder's proposal. He had no interest in Yu Qingya's apology. He also knew that today's beating would make Yu Qingya resent him, but he didn't care. Who was he? Titled Thunder, a titled Douluo standing at the pinnacle of the Douluo continent. It had always been him standing before others to express dissatisfaction. And in front of him, even if he did something wrong, others wouldn't dare to say much. Over these years, because of his son Yu Xiaogang, Yu Yuanzhen had indeed become much easier to talk to. Yu Yuanzhen hadn't looked too deeply into the ridicule and sarcasm regarding his son Yu Xiaogang and himself. But from now on, it would be different. Anyone who dared to act as they did before would have to carefully consider whether their fists were bigger than his. Coming before the Grand Elder and the Second Elder, Yu Yuanzhen nodded to the two of them, then called for Yi Hengquan and took Yu Xiaogang home. The Grand Elder and the Second Elder, following behind them, exchanged a glance. "Did you feel it? The sect master's spirit from before Xiaogang was born has returned," the Grand Elder said while stroking his beard. "It has indeed returned." The Second Elder nodded in agreement. The Yu Yuanzhen of the past, like the titled Douluo of other forces, was sharp and overbearing. However, as Yu Xiaogang's situation arose, Yu Yuanzhen restrained his sharpness. The two elders understood that it was a manifestation of a lack of confidence. But today, the two elders saw that same feeling from years ago in Yu Yuanzhen once again. So they were very curious. Just what was the situation with Yu Xiaogang's first soul ring? When whale gummy was discovered back then, although Yu Yuanzhen was happy, he hadn't recovered to his current state. Why did he recover after obtaining a spirit ring? White World, a certain training ground of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. A group of children around 10 years old, who were practicing punches, looked at the images in the heavenly curtain, and then collectively turned their gaze toward the very front of the training ground. There, a tall and handsome middle-aged man was currently flushing red in the face. It was exactly the Yu Qingye who had been beaten by Yu Yuanzhen in the heavenly curtain. However, the current Yu Qingye was more mature and steady compared to the one in the heavenly curtain. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. Father, did you really provoke the sect master like that back then, and have such an attitude toward Dragon God His Eminence? At the very front of the crowd, a young boy who looked very similar to Yu Qingye looked at his father with a face full of disbelief. He couldn't imagine at all that his calm and steady father actually had such a side to him. "Shut up. Slap." With a roar, Yu Qingye slapped the back of his son's head and then swept a cold gaze over the surrounding children. "Think it's fun to watch? Then you'll all have extra training today. No one is allowed to stop until I say so." "Ah, tilde." A group of 10-year-old children burst into a chorus of miserable cries, but unfortunately, Yu Qingye didn't sympathize with them at all. After all, if he sympathized with them, who would sympathize with him? Although Yu Qingye had already felt that things were looking bad when the heavenly curtain started playing. He had also thought that since this was about Yu Xiaogang, it had nothing to do with him and might be overlooked. But as it turned out, not only was it not overlooked, but he was even given special attention. You should know, when the heavenly curtain played the scene of him being beaten by the sect master just now, it had zoomed in on his face after the beating. At the thought that from now on, whenever he traveled the Douluo continent, he would be recognized everywhere he went, and people would recall this scene, Yu Qingye suddenly felt like dying. The current him was no longer the same as back then. After being violently beaten by Yu Yuanzhen, he had indeed resented Yu Yuanzhen and Yu Xiaogang for a long time. But as Yu Xiaogang gradually rose to prominence, Yu Qingye realized that Yu Yuanzhen's beating back then hadn't been in vain. Because later, Yu Qingye gradually discovered that he and the other party were simply not on the same level. He possessed talent far exceeding Yu Xiaogang's and had the shadow of his father being an elder to rely on, yet his achievements were still limited. But Yu Xiaogang's achievements, aside from using his father's influence at the very beginning, were all fought for through his own abilities. Someone like him mocking an existence like Yu Xiaogang. Recalling his many thoughts from back then, Yu Qingye felt like his toes could dig out a luxury mansion on the ground. Looking at his younger self being beaten into a pig's head in the heavenly curtain, if it weren't so inappropriate, he would even want to shout, "Well beaten," a couple of times right now. Because it was precisely this beating that made him reticent for the next few years and made him feel timid whenever he saw Yu Yuanzhen. Otherwise, if he had remained his former self, he couldn't imagine how many more heaven-defying comments he would have made about Yu Xiaogang. At the same time, it was also because of those next few years of silence and his resentment toward Yu Xiaogang that he paid extra attention to him. Thus, he truly witnessed the process of Yu Xiaogang's rise. His feelings toward him also shifted from resentment to shock, and then to admiration. In the end, he was completely won over by Yu Xiaogang. Afterward, he solemnly went before Yu Xiaogang to apologize for what he had done in the past. And after being forgiven, he willingly became Yu Xiaogang's subordinate at his beck and call. It was also because of his change that Yu Xiaogang lent him a helping hand. Otherwise, there wouldn't be the titled Douluo titled layer standing here today. Chapter 67 Ning Rongrong. Both were beatings. Why are some people just the ones being beaten? Black World, Shrek Academy. At this moment, the academy was silent. Everyone looked at the Yu Xiaogang beside them. Because the scene of Yu Yuanzhen violently attacking someone shown on the heavenly curtain had appeared once before. And that time, the one being beaten was Yu Xiaogang himself. Because with one fart, he had swallowed his own father. To be honest, regarding that beating, not a single person would stand up now and say Yu Yuanzhen was wrong to do it. If it were them, they would only have beaten Yu Xiaogang even harder than Yu Yuanzhen did. But switching to Dragon God Douluo Yu Xiaogang's side, Yu Yuanzhen also showed his might, but this time, Yu Yuanzhen violently beat those who spoke out to mock Yu Xiaogang. Both were displays of might. One was a display of might under rage after losing all face. The other was a display of might full of confidence, wanting to re-establish prestige through the display and reclaim all the face that had been lost. The difference between them was as vast as heaven and earth. Grandmaster, I wonder how you are feeling right now. Ning Rongrong really wanted to interview Yu Xiaogang about his current mood. But what responded to her was Yu Xiaogang's complex gaze, mixed with anger, resentment, and unwillingness, among various other emotions. Ning Rongrong, you are not welcome here, you can leave. Clenching his fists, Yu Xiaogang spoke to Ning Rongrong through gritted teeth. He had endured this person for a long time. She had been constantly mocking him. Previously, Yu Xiaogang still harbored the thought of letting his disciple Tang shine in the future Soul Master Academy Elite Tournament to prove himself. At that time, Ning Rongrong, who came from the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, would be Tang San's best support. But now, his rage had made him disregard all of that. He just wanted to drive Ning Rongrong away. This isn't your territory, who do you think you are? Ning Rongrong glanced disdainfully at Yu Xiaogang. Flender, aren't you going to kick her out yet? I'll put it this way, it's either her or me here. Hearing Ning Rongrong's words, Yu Xiaogang immediately roared at Flender. Hearing Yu Xiaogang's roar, Flender opened his mouth, wanting to follow Yu Xiaogang's words and drive Ning Rongrong away. But seeing Ning Rongrong's face, smiling like a little witch, the words reached his lips but he couldn't say them. Because before this, the sect master of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, Ning Fengjai, had written him a letter. The contents of the letter told him that his precious daughter, Ning Rongrong, would temporarily stay at their Shrek Academy, and he hoped that he, as the dean, would take good care of his daughter. Furthermore, at the end of the letter, 2 more lines were left. Flender is it, take good care of Rongrong, don't let her be unhappy. Signed below, Sword Douluo Chenzin. Remember this, if Rongrong is unhappy, then both Sword Douluo and I will be unhappy. You know the consequences. Signed below, Bone Douluo Gurong. If the content written by Ning Fengjai was considered polite, then the words of Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo were outright threats. With 2 titled Douluo speaking personally, Flender didn't even dare to say a single harsh word to Ning Rongrong. Directly kick her out. It probably wouldn't be long before the 2 titled Douluo came knocking on his door. Therefore, in the end, Flender instead began to persuade Yu Xiaogang. Xiaogang, calm down, Ning Rongrong is just a child, why are you getting upset with a child? Hearing Flender's words, Yu Xiaogang's face instantly turned red with anger. You mean you still plan to let her stay? Then I'm leaving right now. Yu Xiaogang turned around, prepared to leave. Flender reached out a hand to stop him, but after thinking about it, he eventually withdrew his hand. After taking 2 steps, Yu Xiaogang saw that no one was stopping him, so he stopped on his own. Are you really just going to watch me leave? He was in disbelief that his good brother actually didn't side with him. In reality, he was only using his departure to threaten Flender. Shrek Academy had so many geniuses, it was the perfect place to prove himself, and he couldn't bear to leave at all. Seeing Yu Xiaogang's reaction, Flender instantly understood. Yu Xiaogang's words just now were only said to threaten him. Thus, some anger also arose in Flender's heart, but in the end, he still cared for his brotherhood with Yu Xiaogang, so he said nothing and just turned to look at the heavenly curtain. Even Flender was like this, so everyone else was even calmer. Only Tang San's expression carried a hint of displeasure, and Ning Rongrong flashed a provocative smile at Yu Xiaogang. Seeing this, Yu Xiaogang's eyes were bloodshot, and he panted like a bull. But in the end, he still didn't leave, and the words he had said earlier about "it's either her or me" were swallowed back down. He stood alone some distance away from everyone, as if this could draw a clear line between him and them. The video continues. After settling Yu Xiaogang and leaving Yi Hengquan to take care of him, Yu Yuanzhen finally brought the Grand Elder and the Second Elder to the study. Sect Master, what exactly is the situation with Xiaogang's spirit ring? That beating you gave just now directly trampled the face of Yu Qingye, an old third, into the mud. The Grand Elder asked with a curious face. That's right, I'm also very curious. Exactly what kind of spirit ring and spirit ability gave you such confidence? You've endured for Xiaogang for so many years before. The Second Elder followed up immediately. Ha 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 ha, I don't know Xiaogang's spirit ability yet, but I can tell you the age of the spirit ring. Yu Yuanzhen met their gazes and held up one finger. Xiaogang's first soul ring is a 1,000-year spirit ring. What 1,000-year? The Grand Elder and the Second Elder shouted in unison, their faces instantly filled with shock. That's right, it's a 1,000-year one, otherwise I wouldn't have such confidence. Yu Yuanzhen leaned back in his chair, enjoying the shock of the two elders. Although his mood was dampened quite a bit because of Yu Qingye's matter, this alone was already enough. The 1,000-year first soul ring, incredible, truly incredible. The Grand Elder paced back and forth in the room excitedly, muttering something to himself as he walked. Although the Second Elder didn't appear as emotional as the Grand Elder, it wasn't hard to see from his trembling hands that his heart was also not calm. However, elders, I must tell you beforehand that Xiaogang's situation is an isolated case and cannot be viewed according to common logic. Yu Yuanzhen spoke again once he saw the two elders had mostly processed the news. His son was able to absorb the 1,000-year first soul ring because Little Dragon helped share the burden. Others don't have a spirit like Little Dragon. He didn't want a group of people from the family to pop up in the future trying for a 1,000-year first soul ring, only to blame the failure on his son. After informing them of Little Dragon's uniqueness, looks of regret immediately appeared on the two elders' faces. Even so, their hearts were still surging with excitement. With the 1,000-year first soul ring as a foundation, Yu Xiaogang's future is destined to be limitless. In their Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, perhaps in a few decades, there could be 2 Douluos in one sect. And one of them would be a titled Douluo with a spirit ring ratio beyond anyone's imagination. Chapter 68, Yu Xiaogang's first spirit skill. Yu Xiaogang's injuries healed rapidly after returning to the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. With the precious medicinal herbs sent over by Yi Hengquan, and several elders visiting frequently to check on him after learning of his situation, his recovery was swift. By the time Yu Xiaogang could get out of bed and walk around freely, he could clearly feel that he had put on some weight. Once his internal injuries were mostly healed, Yu Xiaogang sensed the spirit power within his body. Rank 13, and nearly at the level of rank 14. Yu Xiaogang was very surprised that his spirit power had broken through to this rank. Because during the process of absorbing the spirit ring, the one who changed the most was Little Dragon. According to his thoughts, the energy in the spirit ring was all used to help Little Dragon evolve, so his own spirit power shouldn't have increased much. But the result was directly reaching rank 13 and nearly rank 14. This saved him a long period of cultivation time all at once. As soon as his injuries were completely healed, Yu Xiaogang couldn't wait to try out his spirit ability. Regarding this, Yu Yuanzhen and the elders of the sect were also very expectant. Everyone was curious about what kind of skill a 1,000-year first soul ring could bring to Yu Xiaogang. And so, on this day, after finishing his duties, Yu Yuanzhen took Yu Xiaogang to their own training ground to test the spirit ability. All the elders were present, even the third elder was no exception. He had only found out afterward that Yu Xiaogang had obtained a 1,000-year first soul ring, and thus understood Yu Yuanzhen's actions that day. Xiaogang, are you ready? Yu Yuanzhen stepped onto the field personally to serve as Yu Xiaogang's target. Don't worry, father. As he spoke, Yu Xiaogang summoned Little Dragon. Accompanied by a flash of light, Little Dragon appeared before Yu Xiaogang and immediately let out a fierce roar toward Yu Yuanzhen. Unfortunately, because Little Dragon was currently just a hatchling, this roar lacked aura and instead made people feel it was cute. Come, release your spirit ability. Yu Yuanzhen activated his martial soul possession and stood ready. Yu Xiaogang nodded and, following his inner guidance, called forth his first soul ring. A purple 1,000-year spirit ring floated around Yu Xiaogang's body. Although they had known for a while that Yu Xiaogang's first soul ring was a 1,000-year one, seeing it with their own eyes now, the elders still couldn't help but gasp. Truly extraordinary. Finally, the second elder offered an evaluation. As the spirit ring emerged, Yu Xiaogang triggered the spirit ability within it. In the next second, the purple spirit ring radiated light. At the same time, Little Dragon's body began to burst with golden light. Zayo! With a dragon's roar, a bright orb of light condensed in front of Little Dragon. Immediately after, an energy ray erupted from the front of the orb, heading straight for Yu Yuanzhen. A long-range attack-type spirit ability. Seeing Little Dragon's form, this thought immediately surfaced in Yu Yuanzhen's mind. He raised his arm, which was under martial soul possession, to block the energy ray. Sizzle! The ray touched Yu Yuanzhen's arm and was blocked. Then, the split rays shot off in all directions. Any object touched by the rays was pierced through. Soon, Little Dragon stopped the attack. Yu Yuanzhen looked at his undamaged arm and frowned. That's not right. Is the spirit ability of a 1,000-year first soul ring just this much? Yu Yuanzhen walked toward Yu Xiaogang. Although as an attack-type spirit ability, this first spirit skill was already very good, it couldn't break his defense only because he was a titled Douluo. But as the saying goes, the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. If it was simply this, Yu Yuanzhen wouldn't say anything, but he would inevitably be disappointed. Xiaogang, is your first spirit skill just firing an energy ray like that? Coming to Yu Xiaogang's side, Yu Yuanzhen asked. No. To Yu Yuanzhen's surprise, Yu Xiaogang shook his head without hesitation upon hearing this. My first spirit skill is called Soul Power Release. Soul Power Release. Yu Yuanzhen frowned when he heard the name of Yu Xiaogang's spirit ability. That's right, Soul Power Release. It might be a spirit ability brought about by that energy ray move of the Crimson Blood Dragon, but this move has also undergone a certain degree of mutation in me. To put it simply, I can release my spirit power in the way I envision it. For example, that ray just now was formed by releasing it, according to the Crimson Blood Dragon's move. As for why it has the light attribute, it should be influenced by Little Dragon's own attributes. Yu Xiaogang looked at Little Dragon, his face becoming excited. At first glance, this soul power release move didn't seem like anything special. But being able to release spirit power in the way one envisions means this spirit ability possesses a plasticity that ordinary spirit abilities lack. Since he could release it in the form of a ray, could he release it in the form of a sphere? Could it be released in the form of a shockwave? There were far too many uses for Yu Xiaogang to try. And furthermore, the power of my first spirit skill isn't fixed. It's determined by the amount of spirit power I invest into it. Hearing Yu Xiaogang's words, Yu Yuanzhen's eyes lit up. Its power grows according to the spirit power you invest. Doesn't that mean this move will always be useful in your hands? Exactly. Seeing Yu Xiaogang nod, Yu Yuanzhen finally understood the power of this move. For a spirit master, cultivation is a gradual process. Going from weak to strong is inevitable. Therefore, the spirit abilities a spirit master obtains during their weak period generally become useless once they become a powerhouse. Take Yu Yuanzhen's first few spirit abilities, for instance. Except for those that could buff his status, Yu Yuanzhen didn't even know how long it had been since he used his other attack-type spirit abilities. Because they were simply not needed. When crushing weaklings, he didn't need spirit abilities, martial soul possession alone was enough. And when facing powerhouses, those early spirit abilities were like scratching an itch. Using them was just a waste of spirit power. Thus, for titled Douluos like Yu Yuanzhen, they mostly used the spirit abilities brought by their 10,000-year soul rings during battle. However, with Yu Xiaogang's first spirit skill, Yu Yuanzhen couldn't see any possibility of it being phased out. Because as Yu Xiaogang continued to grow, his total amount of spirit power would also continue to grow. As long as his spirit power was growing, this first spirit skill would never be obsolete. Good, that's wonderful. Such a powerful first spirit skill is truly worthy of being brought by a 1,000-year first soul ring. Yu Yuanzhen praised repeatedly. But just then Yu Xiaogang suddenly spoke up. Father, I haven't finished yet. The effect of my first spirit skill doesn't stop there. Chapter 69, One Shock After Another. Father, I haven't finished yet. The effect of my first spirit skill doesn't stop there. Hearing Yu Xiaogang's words, Yu Yuanzhen's eyes widened. A spirit ability that would never be obsolete was already heaven-defying enough. Were there other effects? Under Yu Yuanzhen's expectant gaze, Yu Xiaogang did not speak this time, but instead raised his palm. Soon, an apple-sized energy ball emitting light appeared above Yu Xiaogang's palm. Father, do you see anything? Yu Xiaogang looked at Yu Yuanzhen with a smile. Yu Yuanzhen sized up the energy ball above Yu Xiaogang's palm, even circling around him twice, but he still couldn't find anything worth noting. It might not be obvious like this. How about this? As he spoke, with a thought from Yu Xiaogang, the energy ball that had been quietly floating on his palm began to rotate rapidly around him. The trajectory of the rotation went up and down, with no discernible pattern at all. Seeing this scene, Yu Yuanzhen finally understood the other effect Yu Xiaogang had mentioned. You mean, these things formed by your spirit power can still be controlled by you after they leave your body? Exactly. Nodding, Yu Xiaogang waved his finger, and the energy ball that was rotating around him shot toward the ground ahead like an arrow from a bow. The next second, bang! A slight explosion sounded, and a few marks were blasted into the ground. Immediately after, Yu Xiaogang raised his hand again, and an energy ball immediately began to condense in front of his palm. The first one formed easily, but when the second energy ball began to form, Yu Xiaogang frowned. Despite this, the second energy ball soon condensed and took shape. Waving his hand to throw the two energy balls out, Yu Xiaogang tried to control their flight trajectories, finding it far less easy than controlling a single energy ball. Finally, letting the two energy balls collide and explode, Yu Xiaogang also completely understood the advantages and disadvantages of this move. Using spirit power to release specific shapes like this is easy when used individually. But if I want to condense a second one, I have to maintain the stability of the first while simultaneously condensing the second. Yu Xiaogang sighed with some regret. He had thought he could achieve the kind of scene where, with a wave of his hand, the sky would be filled with energy balls condensed before him, which would then pursue enemies under his control. So, to truly unleash the power of this move, you need the distraction control method of the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Yu Yuanzhen also thought of a solution to this problem, but in the end, he shook his head. The distraction control method is a core secret of the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Without enough bargaining chips, it would be impossible for them to obtain such a secret. It doesn't necessarily have to be about quantity. Yu Xiaogang shook his head upon hearing this. Even if only one energy ball is condensed, as long as it's filled with enough spirit power, its power won't be lacking. Hearing this, Yu Yuanzhen could only nod, but in his heart, he secretly made a note of this matter. There might not be a good opportunity now, but that might not be the case in the future. His son was destined to become a powerhouse in the future. Since that was the case, as a father, he had to pave the way for him as much as possible. After describing the use of his first spirit skill, Yu Xiaogang told Yu Yuanzhen another piece of news he hadn't expected. "You're saying your first soul ring also provided you with a passive ability, 100% increase in total spirit power." Yu Yuanzhen looked at Yu Xiaogang with hurried breaths. "Yes, the enhancement my first soul ring brought me is related to spirit power. Actively releasing spirit power and passively increasing the total amount of spirit power. Furthermore, this increased amount will continue to grow stronger as I grow in the future. With this spirit ability, I basically won't have to worry about running out of spirit power in the future." Listening to Yu Xiaogang's words, Yu Yuanzhen's gaze was dull, as were the several elders watching from the side. It couldn't be helped. The shock Yu Xiaogang's first spirit skill brought them was simply too great. Other people's first spirit abilities, take Yu Yuanzhen himself, for example. His first spirit skill was called Thunder Dragon Claw. The effect was to use spirit power to condense into lightning dragon claws to attack enemies. They could be launched from a distance or attached to the arms for close combat. And during battle, a paralysis effect could be added. That was the full extent of his first spirit skill. Comparing his first spirit skill with Yu Xiaogang's, it was simply left in the dust. The gap was too large. Just in terms of attack forms, Yu Xiaogang's first spirit skill had long-range means like rays and energy balls, and based on his description, it could certainly be used for close combat just like Yu Yuanzhen's. In this comparison, it truly crushed Yu Yuanzhen's first spirit skill. On top of that, Yu Xiaogang's first spirit skill also brought an increase in total spirit power, which would continue to grow stronger with his rank in the future. Yu Yuanzhen and the others would have believed it if someone said this was a 10,000-year spirit skill. But as it turned out, this was actually just Yu Xiaogang's first spirit skill. If the first spirit skill was already like this, how heaven-defying would the subsequent spirit abilities be? Yu Yuanzhen and the others didn't dare to imagine. One can only say, as expected of the spirit ability brought by the 1,000-year first soul ring. The Grand Elder on the side finally managed to close his mouth. After 1,000 words, he could only offer this one sigh of admiration. The others nodded one after another in agreement. And, before Yu Xiaogang could finish his sentence, Yu Yuanzhen and the others shouted out directly. "There's more, you actually have more. Can this world get any better? It wasn't enough for your first spirit skill to crush the 10,000-year spirit skills. Are you trying to ascend to the heavens?" This time it's not an effect of the spirit ability. Seeing the distorted expressions on the faces of his father and the elders, Yu Xiaogang felt a bit embarrassed. Although seeing everyone's reaction gave Yu Xiaogang a small sense of secret joy. "Father, you all know that Xiao Long's situation is special. One can see its uniqueness from the fact that it can also cultivate." And now, as he spoke with a thought from Yu Xiaogang, Xiao Long over there immediately released the previous ray again. But this time, Yu Xiaogang himself was not idle either. He similarly channeled the power of his first soul ring to activate his spirit ability. The next second, a ball of light condensed in Yu Xiaogang's palm, and then, just like Xiao Long, he shot out a brilliant ray of light. 2 rays were shot out by Yu Xiaogang and Xiao Long respectively, but the man and dragon did not interfere with or affect each other. It was as if they were 2 teammates fighting side by side. Seeing this scene, Yu Yuanzhen and the elders all gasped. Because the significance represented by the scene before them was far more intense than the shock the first spirit skill had given them. Chapter 70, on Yu Xiaogang himself releasing his own spirit ability. Yu Xiaogang and Xiao Long's use of the first spirit skill did not last very long. However, the shock they brought to Yu Yuanzhen and the others left them unable to recover for a long while. After finishing the spirit ability, Yu Xiaogang turned to look at Yu Yuanzhen and the others. "Because I am the spirit master myself, I can mobilize the power of the spirit ring to release the spirit ability. And Xiao Long is my spirit, the spirit ring skill should inherently be released by it. Ordinary spirit masters and their spirits are one entity, so there's nothing unusual about them releasing spirit abilities. But with Xiao Long and me, because we are separate, it means we can release the spirit ability together without interfering with each other. Hearing Yu Xiaogang's words, Yu Yuanzhen suppressed his shock and took a deep breath. He walked over to Yu Xiaogang, placed his hands on his shoulders, his voice carrying an excitement that could not be suppressed. Xiaogang, do you understand the significance of the traits you've displayed? Hearing this, Yu Xiaogang nodded. I know. Both Xiao Long and I can release spirit abilities, which means that I, one person, possess the combat power of two. I grow as one person, but the result is two people growing up. Hearing Yu Xiaogang's words, Yu Yuanzhen couldn't help but pat Yu Xiaogang's shoulder, then walked over to Xiao Long and picked it up. Xiao Long didn't struggle when held. Instead, it rubbed against Yu Yuanzhen's chest with a happy expression. Ha, I thought Xiao Long being able to help you increase the age limit of the spirit rings you could obtain was impressive enough, but I didn't expect it to be even more heaven-defying. Doesn't this mean that in the future, when you grow up and become a spirit saint, the sect will gain 2 new spirit saints, and if you become a titled Douluo, the sect will directly gain the combat power of 2 titled Douluos? Yu Yuanzhen's words brought the surrounding elders back to their senses. They gathered around Yu Yuanzhen, carefully examining Xiao Long as if they were looking at some rare and precious treasure. Once Yu Xiaogang grows up, the sect will directly gain 2 powerful experts. At this moment, without any communication, the elders had already decided on one thing. No matter the cost, they had to ensure Yu Xiaogang grew up. The temptation of cultivating one person to gain double the combat power was so sweet that no one could refuse. Black World Shrek Academy. Since Yu Xiaogang started describing his spirit ability, everyone had already felt a sense of familiarity with it. Soul power release, what a powerful spirit ability. But then again, farting, that should also be a kind of release, right? So it turns out that Dragon God Douluo and our Grandmaster's spirit abilities are of the same type. Ma Hongzhen whispered to Oscar beside him. To this, Oscar had nothing to say. Indeed, both were releases. It's just that one was releasing internal spirit power, while the other was releasing internal turbid air. In writing, it was only a difference of 2 characters, but in reality, the difference was like heaven and earth. Others who heard Ma Hongzhen's words curled their lips, stifling their laughter. Later, after Yu Xiaogang described to everyone how he could release spirit abilities, just like Xiao Long, everyone's scrutiny of Yu Xiaogang became even more frequent. Because normally, if the Dragon God Douluo over there could do it, there was no reason the Yu Xiaogang over here couldn't. It's just that. At the thought of what Liu Sanpao's first spirit skill was, everyone immediately showed expressions of disgust. Zhao Wuji even went over to Flender and whispered, asking if Yu Xiaogang had ever personally experienced performing his own first spirit skill. At this question, Flender simply rolled his eyes at Zhao Wuji in speechlessness. Do you think he would tell me about something like that? As the subject of everyone's scrutiny, Yu Xiaogang naturally understood what they wanted to know. He had indeed personally performed the first spirit skill back then. But that memory was even more unbearable than Liu Sanpao engulfing his father, Yu Yuanzhen, in a fart. Thus, Yu Xiaogang had never mentioned it to anyone. The scene continued to when Yu Yuanzhen spoke about the significance of Yu Xiaogang and Xiao Long's traits. Although Flender and the others had already thought of this and felt envious and jealous, they could still suppress their emotions. But Ma Hongzhen, Dai Mubai, and the others couldn't. Their envy was written all over their faces. Growing up alone results in double the combat power. If I had such a spirit, what competition would I fear? Dai Mubai fantasized about having a detached white tiger spirit, imagining himself fighting side by side with the white tiger. Unfortunately, after thinking for a long time, he could only look at the heavenly curtain with envy. White World Spirit Hall. Dragon God His Eminence, is your first spirit skill still useful now? Hu Liena, who already knew that Yu Xiaogang's double combat power had suppressed everyone on the Douluo continent, wasn't curious about what followed. What she was curious about was that first spirit skill. Although Yu Xiaogang's first soul ring was a 1,000-year one and very powerful when he was weak. But now that Yu Xiaogang is a titled Douluo, can a skill provided by a 1,000-year spirit ring really still be effective? Of course it's useful. In fact, for the current me, the most frequently used spirit ability is still the first spirit skill. Yu Xiaogang said, "Because my first spirit skill has unprecedented plasticity, as I continued to grow and my control over spirit power became more refined, I could achieve more and more things. Like this." Saying so, Yu Xiaogang raised his hand, and a ball of energy glowing with soft light condensed above his palm. The next second, the energy ball began to deform, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a finely crafted pigeon. Looking at the pigeon resting on Yu Xiaogang's palm, Hu Liena's eyes widened. This. Seeing Hu Liena's shocked expression, the corners of Yu Xiaogang's mouth curled up slightly. Then, the pigeon on his palm flapped its wings and began to fly over everyone's heads, just like a real pigeon. Its movements and sounds were identical to the pigeons Hu Liena had seen in reality. So amazing! Hu Liena covered her mouth and exclaimed, never imagining that the spirit ability which sounded simple and seemingly useless on the heavenly curtain could evolve into this. What about its power? Hu Liena pressed further. Ahem, there's no need to discuss the matter of power. Anyway, it's beyond your imagination. Hearing Hu Liena's words, Qian Dailu coughed twice, stopping her from asking further. Hu Liena didn't understand why the high priest wanted to stop her from asking, but out of respect for him, she closed her mouth. Seeing Hu Liena stop her questioning under Qian Dailu's intervention, Yu Xiaogang chuckled inwardly. To say who among those present had the deepest memory of this first spirit skill. That would undoubtedly be Qian Dailu himself. After all, when the two of them sparred back then, Yu Xiaogang had relied on this move to cause the other party a great deal of trouble. That was why Qian Dailu stepped in to stop Hu Liena from asking further. Because he knew very well that if she continued to ask, the example Yu Xiaogang would bring up would likely be himself. Chapter 71, Soaring Cultivation Speed. The video continues. Having learned of Yu Xiaogang's first spirit skill and witnessed his potential, the elders departed and began discussing how to nurture him. Yu Yuanzhen also felt a surge of anticipation for the future because of his son's first spirit skill. However, those were matters for the future. After recovering from his injuries, Yu Xiaogang's daily routine returned to the previous cycle of studying and cultivating. But this time, when Yu Xiaogang began to cultivate, he immediately discovered that his cultivation speed was worlds apart from before. If his former cultivation speed was like a thumb-thick water pipe filling a room, then now, while still filling the same room, the pipe had become as thick as a thigh. Under this soaring cultivation speed, in just half a month, Yu Xiaogang's spirit power reached rank 14. It seems my gamble this time was truly the right choice. Feeling the power within his body, Yu Xiaogang clenched his fists, his face full of excitement. Even before, with Little Dragon's assistance, his cultivation speed was not that of an ordinary innate level 1 soul power. Now that his talent had improved, though he didn't know the exact extent, even a single rank increase would manifest as something terrifying on his body. Yu Xiaogang had a premonition that his future cultivation speed would only get faster. One day, it might even be possible to surpass the speed of full innate soul power. Thinking this, Yu Xiaogang called Little Dragon, who was playing nearby, back to his side and shared a warm interaction with it. A separate beast spirit, how fortunate he was to possess such a cheat code. Time flew by, and soon, another 2 years passed in a flash. At a certain training ground of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, Little Dragon split attack. Xiaowu. At Yu Xiaogang's command, his and Little Dragon's figures split, charging from the left and right sides. Their target was Yu Yuanzhen, who stood calmly in the center of the training ground. Xiaowu. On the left, Little Dragon flew in midair as light condensed before it. The next second, a golden ray shot out from its mouth. Simultaneously, Yu Xiaogang on the right raised his hand. light gathered in his palm, condensing into an exquisite longsword. The sword was less than 3 feet long, perfectly suited for Yu Xiaogang's current height of less than 1.5 meters. Reaching Yu Yuanjun, Yu Xiaogang swung the longsword, pointing it directly at his father's face. "Good boy, you're certainly showing no mercy." Seeing this, Yu Yuanjun raised his hand for martial soul possession, dragon scales spreading across his arm. Clang! The longsword collided with the dragon scales, producing a metallic clashing sound. Meanwhile, little dragon's ray reached Yu Yuanjun, only to be blocked by his other hand. Seeing his attack parried, Yu Xiaogang immediately channeled spirit power, and an energy ball quickly condensed beside him. In the next second, the energy ball in midair darted like a nimble fish, bypassing Yu Yuanjun's arm to attack from behind. Unfortunately, Yu Yuanjun responded with great composure. He lifted one foot, using the other as a pivot, and spun his body. Yu Xiaogang was sent flying, and the energy ball attacking from behind was kicked away by Yu Yuanjun's raised foot. Landing on the ground after being thrown, Yu Xiaogang grit his teeth and hurled the longsword in his hand toward Yu Yuanjun. Interestingly, Yu Yuanjun had just finished his rotation and was now facing Yu Xiaogang. He then watched as Yu Xiaogang's flying sword flew straight toward his lower body. "You little rascal!" Seeing his future happiness nearly ended by his son's sword, Yu Yuanjun cursed under his breath and activated martial soul possession. Then, with the power of lightning diffusing, the flying sword finally stopped before Yu Yuanjun. Though it was a bit of an accident, this counts as my win, right, father?" Sitting on the ground, Yu Xiaogang felt a chill down his spine when he saw where his flying sword had almost hit. However, as Yu Yuanjun neutralized the attack, a smile returned to his face. In this sparring match between father and son, the victory condition they agreed upon was whether Yu Xiaogang could force Yu Yuanjun to use any power beyond simple martial soul possession. Spirit ring skills and the dragon's lightning power were all included in that restriction. Thus, according to the rules, Yu Xiaogang had won. Hearing Yu Xiaogang's words, Yu Yuanjun narrowed his eyes and beckoned to him. "Come here first." Hearing this, Yu Xiaogang immediately shrank back. Unfortunately, Yu Yuanjun was a titled Douluo and didn't care for martial ethics. With a flash, Yu Yuanjun appeared before Yu Xiaogang and delivered a smack to the back of his head. "Smack! Hiss, that hurts." Yu Xiaogang clutched his head, crouching on the ground and inhaling sharply. "HMPH, so you know pain. If that strike just now had landed, your father's future happiness would have been ruined." Yu Yuanjun snorted coldly. "That was an accident. Who knew you'd turn around just then?" Yu Xiaogang held his head, speaking with a face full of indignation. "You still think you're right. What, if I didn't turn around, were you really going to stab your sword into me?" Yu Yuanjun glared at Yu Xiaogang, speaking irritably. He, I'll be careful next time. I'll definitely be careful next time." Yu Xiaogang chuckled. Sparring with Yu Yuanjun was a new training regimen Yu Xiaogang had added over the past 2 years. With his first spirit skill, Yu Xiaogang naturally needed to start gaining combat experience. Especially since, after 2 years of research, Yu Xiaogang discovered that his first spirit skill was even more heaven-defying than he had imagined. This first spirit skill could not only release spirit power for one-time attacks, but it could also condense spirit power into a physical form and maintain that shape for a long time. The spirit power longsword Yu Xiaogang used earlier was developed this way. With this move, Yu Xiaogang was no longer empty-handed in battle. He could manifest 1,000 different weapons at will. Yu Xiaogang had even used this technique, consuming a large amount of spirit power to condense a clone the same size as himself. Regrettably, such a clone could only be controlled by him and could not be endowed with an independent consciousness like Little Dragon. This had left Yu Xiaogang disappointed for quite a while. He had thought he could create a few more helpers like Little Dragon who could help him study. Nevertheless, Yu Xiaogang's usage of this first spirit skill left Yu Yuanjun and the others deeply shocked. They didn't know the specifics of a 100,000-year soul ring since they didn't possess one, so they couldn't comment. But the spirit abilities from their own 10,000-year soul rings truly couldn't compare to the effects of Yu Xiaogang's first spirit skill. Chapter 72, Rank 20 Yu Xiaogang. After another battle, Yu Xiaogang was completely exhausted, lying spread-eagled on the ground. Long was also panting, sprawled on Yu Xiaogang's stomach, looking like he didn't want to move at all. Looking at the man and the dragon, Yu Yuanzhen felt like laughing. Have you thought about what kind of spirit beast you want for your second spirit skill? Yu Yuanzhen suddenly asked. Just a few days ago, Yu Xiaogang's spirit power successfully reached rank 20. To be honest, this speed completely exceeded the expectations of Yu Yuanzhen and the sect elders. The sect had records regarding the cultivation speed of genius spirit masters. Geniuses with full innate soul power generally take about 2 or 3 years to reach rank 20 after obtaining their first soul ring. Yet, only 2 years after obtaining his first soul ring, Yu Xiaogang had already reached rank 20. Although Yu Xiaogang's rank increased significantly after obtaining his spirit ring due to the high age of his first soul ring. Even so, this speed was truly too fast. One must remember that at the very beginning, Yu Xiaogang's innate soul power was only rank 1. Still a dragon-type spirit beast, but this time I can be more flexible with the attributes. Yu Xiaogang said as he sat up. Since learning Long's specific attributes, Yu Xiaogang's search for information had become more focused. If it were just about light attribute spirit beasts, there were plenty on the Douluo continent. But what Yu Xiaogang cared more about now was allowing Long to complete a true evolution. Therefore, his first criterion for selecting a spirit beast was still that it must be a dragon-type spirit beast. On that basis, if the dragon-type spirit beast he encountered had the light attribute, it would be even better. What about the age? Yu Yuanzhen asked this more important question. With the example of the 1,000-year first soul ring, Yu Yuanzhen and the sect elders paid very close attention to Yu Xiaogang. Every once in a while, they would personally sense Yu Xiaogang's physical strength and find suitable spirit masters for comparison. As a result, Yu Yuanzhen and the others could clearly judge that Yu Xiaogang's current physical strength far exceeded that of an ordinary 3-ring spirit grandmaster. It was very close to the strength of a 4-ring spirit elder. Every time they thought of this result, the elders' hearts would swell with excitement. After all, when obtaining the first soul ring, Yu Yuanzhen had judged that Yu Xiaogang's physical strength was suitable for absorbing a first soul ring of about 800 years. But in the end, he went big and absorbed a 1,000-year spirit ring. And now, they judged Yu Xiaogang's body to be close to the strength of a 4-ring spirit elder. Wouldn't that mean Yu Xiaogang's second soul ring could be obtained by matching the age limit of an ordinary 4-ring spirit elder's spirit ring? Around 4,000 years, or about 5,000 years if I include what Long can help me share. Yu Xiaogang clenched his fist, showing a confident expression. This choice was already one Yu Xiaogang had made after various considerations, and it was somewhat conservative. With the first soul ring, if he hadn't pushed himself, his life would have been over. With the foundation of the first soul ring, there was no need to be so desperate when obtaining the second soul ring. But even so, Yu Xiaogang's choice made Yu Yuanzhen take a deep breath. A 5,000-year second soul ring. Xiaogang, given your situation, you aren't planning to get a 10,000-year soul ring for your third soul ring, are you? Hearing this, Yu Xiaogang nodded, as if it were only natural. Why not? Compared to the danger of the first soul ring, I'm just choosing spirit rings step by step now. Father, think about it. If you take a normal spirit master and set aside their first 2 spirit rings, my current situation is actually similar to theirs. An ordinary spirit master's third soul ring is just over 1,000 years, their fourth is around 4,000 years, and their fifth is 10,000 years. Am I not just cultivating step by step? Listening to Yu Xiaogang's words, especially his matter-of-fact tone, Yu Yuanzhen was speechless for a long time. Because thinking along the lines of what Yu Xiaogang said, it did seem to be the case. But why did he feel so irritated hearing him say it like that? However, to be safe, my choice of spirit beast for the second soul ring might need to be more specific. Just as Yu Yuanjun was about to ask more questions, Yu Xiaogang suddenly changed the subject and talked about the choice of spirit beast for the second soul ring. What do you mean? Father, have you forgotten? What is the biggest difference between a 10,000-year soul ring and a 1,000-year spirit ring? Yu Xiaogang picked up Zyro Long and stood up from the ground. You mean soul shock? Yu Yuanjun slapped his forehead. How could he have forgotten? Exactly, soul shock is the biggest difference between a 1,000-year spirit ring and a 10,000-year soul ring. A spirit master not only has to withstand the impact of the spirit power within the spirit ring on their body, but also the impact of the spirit beast's resentment on their soul. Physically, my body should be fine by then. But as for the soul and mental force, I've read so many books over the years and haven't seen any definite way to improve them. So I can only use my wits regarding the spirit rings I obtain. Yu Xiaogang stroked Zyro Long's head, making him drowsy. Regarding the acquisition of the second soul ring, as soon as he learned about the soul shock that occurs when obtaining a 10,000-year soul ring, he had already decided on his target. A dragon-type spirit beast of a type with powerful mental strength. In terms of attributes, it would be best if it had the light attribute, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't. Through the second soul ring, he would strengthen his soul and mental intensity, laying a good foundation for the third soul ring. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. Forget it, in the future, just tell me your choice of spirit ring when you're ready to set out. My brain, as a titled Douluo, seems as if it hasn't grown at all in front of you. Yu Yuanjun shook his head with a look of helplessness. Truly, every time he planned for the future with Yu Xiaogang or discussed the contents of books, Yu Yuanjun would feel a slight sense of frustration. Reasonably speaking, the knowledge in his mind as a titled Douluo should be very abundant. But in front of Yu Xiaogang, a child only about 10 years old, Yu Yuanjun could feel an illusion of being crushed by knowledge. It was as if he were someone uneducated and unskilled. Was he? Was he not? Yu Yuanjun couldn't tell, but when he had time, he planned to visit Yi Hengchuan. Although he always felt crushed in front of his son, in front of Yi Hengchuan, he could enjoy the pleasure of crushing someone else. Besides enjoying that feeling of crushing Yi Hengchuan, Yu Yuanjun could also routinely show off his son to him. Every time he saw Yi Hengchuan's expression of envy, jealousy, and hate, Yu Yuanjun would be so happy he could eat 2 extra bowls of rice. Chapter 73, The Second Soul Ring and the External Spirit Bone. Within a few days, the father and son duo, Yu Xiaogang and Yu Yuanjun, set out once again on the path to obtain a spirit ring. Arriving at the edge of the Stardew Great Forest again, Yu Xiaogang no longer felt the same apprehension he had the first time. This soul-hunting operation also went exceptionally smoothly. On only the 7th day of arriving in the Stardew Great Forest, Yu Xiaogang and his father encountered a spirit beast that met their requirements. A radiant heavenly dragon, and it's one of about 5,000 years. Hahaha Xiaogang, your luck is truly not bad. Seeing a spirit beast not far away, Yu Yuanjun patted Yu Xiaogang's shoulder and spoke. Yu Xiaogang himself was also very happy. The radiant heavenly dragon is a dragon-type spirit beast with a light attribute. Beyond that, the radiant heavenly dragon is best known for its equally formidable mental strength. It was rare for a single spirit beast to satisfy all of Yu Xiaogang's requirements. Furthermore, among dragon-type spirit beasts, the radiant heavenly dragon is extremely powerful. Don't be fooled by the fact that this radiant heavenly dragon is only 5,000 years old. Ordinary 10,000-year spirit beasts would be no match for it. Unfortunately, this time the radiant heavenly dragon encountered Yu Yuanjun, a titled Douluo. Thus, very quickly, the radiant heavenly dragon fell before Yu Xiaogang. Zura! Looking at Yu Xiaogang walking toward it with a sword, the radiant heavenly dragon's eyes were filled with unwillingness and resentment. Because of its powerful mental force, the radiant heavenly dragon could sense the spirit power fluctuations on Yu Xiaogang's body. These fluctuations were far, far below the level required to absorb its spirit ring after death. Therefore, in the radiant heavenly dragon's view, Yu Xiaogang killing it wasn't to absorb a spirit ring, but either to kill it for a spirit bone drop or simply out of a love for slaughter. Being forced to die for such reasons, how could it be resigned? Unfortunately, the radiant heavenly dragon's resentment would not move Yu Xiaogang's compassion. He decisively ended the radiant heavenly dragon's life. The next second, the radiant heavenly dragon's spirit ring appeared above its corpse. "Father, I'm going to absorb it." After informing Yu Yuanzhen, Yu Xiaogang adjusted his breathing, summoned the little dragon, sat cross-legged on the ground, and began to guide the spirit ring. It was the same process as absorbing the first soul ring. Only this time, although Yu Xiaogang's absorption process involved some pain, it was only to the extent of making him let out a few muffled groans. In the space of his consciousness, Yu Xiaogang once again saw the little dragon sharing the pressure with him. Furthermore, Yu Xiaogang saw the little dragon undergo changes, once more under the impact of the spirit power. The originally tiny dragon wings on its back began to grow broad under the repeated impacts of spirit power. At the same time, the little dragon's body was also growing. The sharp horn on its forehead became acute, and its tail became thick and large. The originally tiny pale gold scales on its body also grew larger along with its body. In summary, the little dragon was starting to grow tall. Understanding the little dragon's situation, Yu Xiaogang finally immersed himself in his own side. Outside, Yu Yuanzhen watched Yu Xiaogang's movements. This time it was very calm, not at all like when he absorbed the first soul ring, covered in blood. This allowed Yu Yuanzhen's mood to relax significantly. However, just when Yu Yuanzhen thought this soul hunting would be very easy, and was getting a bit bored while waiting, suddenly, "Zah!" A scream of pain escaped Yu Xiaogang's mouth, and he instinctively arched his upper body. "Xiaogang!" Yu Yuanzhen rushed to Yu Xiaogang's side, wanting to know what had happened. Just then, from Yu Xiaogang's arched back, the sound of tearing cloth rang out, and two objects resembling jade appeared behind him. "This is..." Yu Yuanzhen stared blankly at the things that had suddenly emerged from Yu Xiaogang's back, his original worry quickly replaced by wild joy. As a veteran of soul hunting, although Yu Yuanzhen had never seen such a scene, he had heard of it and seen relevant records. These things suddenly emerging from his son's body were clearly a spirit bone. And it was an external spirit bone, whose rarity was second only to a 100,000-year soul ring or a 100,000-year soul bone. Unlike ordinary spirit bones, an external spirit bone possesses growth potential and can grow alongside the spirit master. At the same time, it does not occupy one of the 6 major spirit bone positions. The method of obtaining an external spirit bone is also different from ordinary spirit bones. To obtain an external spirit bone, one must acquire it while absorbing a spirit ring. An external spirit bone obtained this way is most compatible with oneself. With such characteristics and such extremely rare acquisition conditions, the rarity of an external spirit bone far exceeds that of ordinary spirit bones. When Yu Yuanzhen traveled the Douluo continent years ago, he met many spirit masters who possessed spirit bones. But among them, not a single person possessed an external spirit bone. Among the experts currently dominating the continent, he had never heard of anyone whose spirit bone was an external spirit bone. Ha ha ha, good, as expected of my son, not only exceptionally intelligent and capable. But this luck is also something most people can't compare to. If they weren't still in the Stardew Great Forest, Yu Yuanzhen would have laughed out loud. But even so, he still chuckled aloud. Truly, the surprise this external spirit bone brought him was too great. How rare are spirit bones! Even a titled Douluo like himself couldn't gather a full set of spirit bones. Yet now, when his son obtained his second soul ring, he also gained an external spirit bone, second only to 100,000-year rings and bones. This luck is practically absurd. Under Yu Yuanzhen's gaze, the external spirit bone on Yu Xiaogang's back quickly took shape. It turned out to be that pair of dragon wings from the radiant heavenly dragon. The golden dragon wings unfurled behind Yu Xiaogang, as if they could wrap his entire person within them. As the dragon wings spread, the expression of discomfort on Yu Xiaogang's face vanished, and soon he opened his eyes. If anyone were to observe Yu Xiaogang's eyes closely at this moment, they would find that within his black pupils, specks of golden light had begun to flicker. After 2 hours of absorption, Yu Xiaogang finally completed the absorption of his second soul ring. Tilde. Stretching his body while sitting on the ground, Yu Xiaogang was about to stand up. But just as he prepared to stand, he noticed something was wrong. There seems to be something on my back. Thinking this under Yu Yuanzhen's smile-filled gaze, Yu Xiaogang turned his head to look. Holy crap, what is this? Seeing the wings on his back, Yu Xiaogang was startled. A curse almost slipped out, but he barely managed to restrain himself. After a moment of daze, Yu Xiaogang turned his gaze toward Yu Yuanzhen. At this time, Yu Yuanzhen finally walked to Yu Xiaogang's side with a smile. Ha ha ha, you brat, your luck really makes even someone like me, who has already become a titled Douluo, quite envious. Chapter 74, Little Dragon's Drastic Change Once Again. Black World, Shrek Academy. The moment Yu Xiaogang obtained the external spirit bone, everyone's gaze simultaneously focused on Tang San. Because not long ago, he had also obtained an external spirit bone, which he named the 8 Spider Lances. They had originally thought that being able to see something like an external spirit bone, once in a lifetime, was already very lucky. They didn't expect to see another one so soon. Especially since the person who obtained it was Yu Xiaogang's parallel world counterpart. So Grandmaster, just how many things have you missed out on? Ning Rongrong looked at the external spirit bone on Yu Xiaogang's back in the heavenly curtain and couldn't help but click her tongue. Given the situation of their world's Yu Xiaogang, he probably wouldn't have had the chance to encounter that radiant heavenly dragon. But watching an external spirit bone be missed like this, even if it belonged to someone else, she felt a pang of heartache. If Ning Rongrong, an outsider, felt heartache, it was nothing compared to Yu Xiaogang himself. His heart was already starting to twitch with pain. An external spirit bone, that was an external spirit bone. Among the supreme treasures of the Douluo continent. It was second only to 100,000-year spirit rings and spirit bones. If he had listened to his father back then, and chosen a dragon-type spirit beast for his first soul ring, would he have had the chance to encounter this radiant heavenly dragon later on? The more he thought about it, the more regretful Yu Xiaogang became, and he raised his hand to slap himself again. The crisp sound echoed in everyone's ears. Unfortunately, no one stood up to comfort him. Most of them felt much the same as Ning Rongrong. It was heartbreaking. The video continues. Yu Yuanzhen's joyful laughter brought Yu Xiaogang back to his senses. Through Yu Yuanzhen's explanation, he finally understood that he had actually obtained an external spirit bone. Although Yu Xiaogang had read information about external spirit bones in books before, he didn't fully understand the specific details of them. Now he finally understood. Can this be retracted? Following his will, he flapped the wings on his back a couple of times, and Yu Xiaogang suddenly spoke up. Of course you can. Mobilize your spirit power and treat it like controlling a part of your body. That's how you control a spirit bone. Yu Yuanzhen, who possessed spirit bones himself, stepped forward to explain to Yu Xiaogang how to retract the wings on his back. With Yu Yuanzhen's help, and after some attempts, Yu Xiaogang successfully retracted the wings. You kid are truly blessed by heaven to be able to obtain a treasure like an external spirit bone. It's also lucky you came soul hunting with me. If it were a stranger, they would have attacked you just now. Yu Yuanzhen said. Hearing this, Yu Xiaogang was also startled. Doesn't that mean I can't easily use this external spirit bone in the future? In the future, he would certainly travel the Douluo continent. If he stayed under his father's protection forever, he would never become a powerhouse. If every person he met coveted his external spirit bone, wouldn't he be unable to use the spirit bone's power? That's not necessarily the case. You are from the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect and my, Yu Yuanzhen's son. Under normal circumstances, who would dare covet your spirit bone? However, you still need to be wary of those reckless fools. Yu Yuanzhen pondered for a moment before finally saying. Famous powerhouses on the continent, knowing Yu Xiaogang's identity, would give him face as long as Yu Xiaogang didn't provoke them directly. However, spirit masters from commoner backgrounds were different. They might not necessarily give him face. So until your strength has fully matured, it's best not to use it unless absolutely necessary. Hearing this, Yu Xiaogang nodded and kept this matter in mind. After discussing the external spirit bone, Yu Yuanzhen immediately asked about the status of Yu Xiaogang's second soul ring. The speed of the spirit ring absorption this time was faster than he had anticipated. Based on the previous experience, Yu Yuanzhen thought that even if it was much easier for Yu Xiaogang this time, it would still take at least half a day to a full day. But it was done in just 2 hours. This proves that the pressure little dragon shared for me was definitely not just a little bit. Yu Xiaogang closed his eyes and summoned little dragon. Zhaowu. A dragon roar, still carrying a hint of youthfulness, but with a clearly audible aura, rang out in their ears. Immediately following a burst of blinding light, little dragon's figure appeared before the father and son. Looking at little dragon's current appearance, even Yu Xiaogang, who knew little dragon's form would change drastically, couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Yu Yuanzhen was even more direct. He raised his hand to rub his eyes to make sure he wasn't seeing things before crying out in surprise. Is this still little dragon? It is, right. Yu Xiaogang was also somewhat incredulous. Under their gaze, little dragon stared with its still bright, large eyes, glanced at Yu Xiaogang, and wanted to get close to him as it used to. Then little dragon rubbed its head against Yu Xiaogang's cheek. That's right, the current little dragon's size was already about the same as Yu Xiaogang's. And Yu Xiaogang's height was now around 1.5 meters. This showed how massive little dragon's change was. After all, before today, little dragon's size was actually similar to a large cat. Thus, usually when little dragon acted spoiled toward Yu Xiaogang, it would typically burrow into his arms. This is truly incredible. 2 spirit rings have caused such a massive change in your spirit. If you continue to add spirit rings, could little dragon become as huge as those spirit beasts in the future? Yu Yuanzhen calmed his shocked heart, circled little dragon twice, and said, "It will definitely be more powerful than spirit beasts." Yu Xiaogang held little dragon's cheeks and said with a face full of confidence, "How could spirit beasts compare to his little dragon? After all, little dragon was a part of him. With him around, how could it not beat a bunch of spirit beasts? Then I'll look forward to that day. By the way, what about little dragon's spirit ability? Show it off." Yu Yuanzhen looked at Yu Xiaogang and little dragon with expectation, still prepared to act as a target himself. "Then you'd better feel it carefully." Yu Xiaogang grinned, and with a thought, little dragon immediately flapped its wings and flew above Yu Xiaogang's head. Roar! The purple spirit ring shone brightly. Along with this light, little dragon let out an angry roar that shook the surroundings. Hearing little dragon's roar, Yu Yuanzhen's spirit became dazed for a moment, but as he circulated his spirit power, the dazed feeling vanished. The spirit ability ended, and little dragon landed beside Yu Xiaogang, looking like it wanted to be praised. Yu Yuanzhen opened his mouth to ask about the specific effect of the spirit ability, but the next second, he was stunned by the sight before him. Chapter 75, the still formidable second spirit skill. The Stardew Great Forest is home to a vast number of spirit beasts. The spirit beasts living here, especially those with low intelligence, often possess a very strong sense of curiosity. Even when they know there is danger ahead, they often can't help but steal a glance. Besides that, the corpses of spirit beasts, left behind after a spirit master's soul hunting, are also a major reason why they refuse to leave. If they encounter greedy and cruel spirit beasts, they will suddenly launch a sneak attack after observing for a while. This is also why spirit masters generally need protection when coming to the Stardew Great Forest to obtain a spirit ring. While Yu Xiaogang was absorbing the spirit ring, a large group of spirit beasts were hidden in the shadows around them, peeking at the situation. Yu Yuanzhen was very aware of the arrival of these spirit beasts. He didn't care about those peeking spirit beasts, as long as they weren't the type with a strong desire to attack, just watching wouldn't hurt anything. Even as Yu Xiaogang completed the absorption of the spirit ring, these spirit beasts still hadn't left. And so, they became the targets of Yu Xiaogang's second spirit skill. As the little dragon's roar echoed around, those hidden spirit beasts also felt a mental daze, just like Yu Yuanzhan had. Unfortunately, they didn't possess strength as formidable as Yu Yuanzhan's, so very quickly, the vision of this group of spirit beasts went dark. Of course, the spirit beasts didn't faint, they soon opened their eyes again. Remembering what had happened, they immediately tried to flee. However, at that moment, they realized something was wrong. 100-year-old cat-type spirit beast jumped high into the air, and as if diving into water, its head plunged straight toward the ground. In the next second, it slammed into the ground, and the entire cat became dizzy from the impact. On the other side, a 100-year-old wild boar spirit beast came to its senses, glanced at a nearby tree, and used all 4 limbs to try and climb it. But with its clumsy body, how could it perform such a nimble feat? In the end, it could only fall on its back, unable to get up for a long time. Nearby, an ape spirit beast was frantically waving its arms, as if they were a pair of wings. Unfortunately, no matter how fast it waved them, it couldn't actually take flight. Spirit beast after spirit beast performed these bizarre actions before his eyes. Yu Yuanzhan watched for a long time, without understanding what was going on. Xiaogang, what exactly is your second spirit skill? Hearing the doubt in Yu Yuanzhan's voice, Yu Xiaogang patted the little dragon's head. Soul-shaking tremor, that is the name of my second spirit skill. The specific effect is that by releasing mental force, it causes a vibration in the opponent's soul and spirit. The specific power depends on the gap between our respective spirit power and mental force. At this point, Yu Xiaogang glanced at Yu Yuanzhan. Father, what did it feel like when you were hit by my spirit ability just now? My mind just went dazed for a moment. I circulated my spirit power and I returned to normal. Yu Yuanzhan described his feelings from just now. Then it can be determined that someone whose strength far exceeds mine will experience a mental daze when hit by this move, but it is easily broken. A sharp light flashed in Yu Xiaogang's eyes. Since this move of his could bring a moment of mental daze even to his father, a titled Douluo, then this second spirit skill was even more formidable than he had imagined. Although battles between spirit masters aren't directly decided by a single move. But in many cases, a moment of daze can also bring a huge advantage. More importantly, he was currently only a 2-ring spirit grandmaster. If it were an opponent of the same level, the impact would not be so light. The effect is average on those far stronger than me, but for opponents who are similar to me or weaker, the effect is very significant. Yu Xiaogang pointed to the spirit beasts, not far away, who were still acting in a chaotic frenzy. Opponents with strength similar to mine, or slightly stronger, will have their soul and body briefly disconnected when hit by this move. Although they can reconnect quickly, a rushed connection is like a spirit fighting team, letting a long-term substitute member take the field. The substitute knows everything about the team, but because they haven't practiced much coordination, they are out of sync with their teammates. Similarly, after a brief disconnection between the soul and the body, once reconnected, it will be like this: the consciousness and the body will be out of sync. Then it happens: the mind thinks of throwing a punch, but the body kicks. The mind thinks of retreating, but the body squats. The mind thinks of releasing the first spirit skill, but the body withdraws the spirit. Yu Xiaogang wanted to laugh, just thinking about how his future opponents would react under the influence of this move. As for those whose strength is far below mine. At this point, Yu Xiaogang looked at the group of spirit beasts. They were the best example. Spirit masters or spirit beasts far weaker than me will have their souls directly shaken out of their bodies when hit by this move. However, the soul will soon find its way back. It's just that it will take much longer to adapt this time. Besides that, what's truly powerful about this move is during group battles. When a group of people's souls are shaken out of their bodies, mistakes can happen when the souls return to the bodies. And then it becomes like this. Yu Xiaogang pointed at the group of spirit beasts in front of them. That wild boar, inside its body now should be a monkey, and inside that monkey's body is probably a bird. As for that cat, looking at its movements, it should be an earth attribute spirit beast that can burrow. Listening to Yu Xiaogang's words and looking at the scene before him, Yu Yuanzhen was dumbfounded. This second spirit skill, although it didn't feel as heaven-defying as Yu Xiaogang's first spirit skill, that was only in comparison to his first spirit skill. Compared to other people's spirit abilities, it was truly leagues ahead. Another powerful spirit ability that is not in the least inferior to a 10,000-year spirit skill. Taking a deep breath, Yu Yuanzhen tried his best to calm himself, but his emotions were still very high. Yu Xiaogang's second spirit skill was practically born for group battles. Imagine when Yu Xiaogang faces a group of enemies and uses this move, the entire battlefield will instantly fall into chaos. The strong ones won't be able to control their bodies. The outcome of the following battle is a guaranteed win. The weak ones won't even have their own bodies anymore. What combat power would they have left? It could be said that just by relying on this one move, Yu Xiaogang could become a top-tier control system sole master in the future. That's it for today's chapter. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, and subscribe to AI Otaku Studio for more stories. Check out my other channel, Infinite Novel Audio, and I'll see you in the next chapter.